everybody. Welcome to the Fresh Out the Box podcast. I am the board game guru and game master extraordinaire, Johannanon.
Casualty CDG, but you can call me Gary. I'm a retired child crimes detective turned tabletop titan and improv comedian, and tonight we're doing our first ever episode of Fresh Out the Podcast. I'd like to introduce my best friend who has never been on this stream before. He's the professional media and movie mastermind, Drew Munhausen.
Well, thank you guys so much for having me here on Fresh Out the Podcast. I can even say we did go through some different names, some ideas, Fresh Out the Box Cast, Fresh Out the Box the Podcast, Pod Out the Box Cast, and we did just decide that Fresh Out the Podcast seemed to fit the best. I actually did look to see if there were any other Fresh Out the Podcasts that exist, and there are not. So we are the only Fresh Out the Podcast.
We did.
Oh, I think this is good news. This is good news.
It's funny that you say that. It actually took us a long time to settle on the name Fresh Out the Box. We had, maybe for about a week or two, researched all these different Facebooks and YouTubes and Twitters trying to make sure that we could find a decent name for our channel and a decent brand. And Fresh Out the Box is also like a sneaker channel. But they've got 250 subscribers on YouTube, right? So they're a different thing. They're not doing what we're doing. That's fine. Nobody's stepping on anybody's shoes, so to speak. And for anybody who's joining, who wants to see us, if you want to see what we're doing and also not just hear us, we're on Twitch. And we have a great new Fresh Out the Podcast logo at twitch.tv/Johannanon. I just looked at it, and it's just Fresh Out the Box with a big red slash through the word box with podcast.
I'm pretty proud.
Yeah, it's very good.
I do my own stunts.
We didn't have to pay for that, did we? You did that?
Yeah, I did that.
You should pay yourself. That's good. That's art. That's top tier shit, man.
I don't have any money to pay myself.
That's all right. That's what happens when you run a podcast.
So just for some background, I do occasionally tune into Gary and Jahan's streams when they're doing different tabletop game streams and so on. And I have been truly impressed with the consistency and how dedicated they have been to process and just being on, consistently the nights that they advertise. And I have always been one who I used to have a really long commute to and from work. I would listen to a lot of podcasts to and from work on movies and pop culture and all the things that I like. And I always wanted to do that myself. And when they had this consistent stream going, I finally sent them a note and said, "Hey guys, what do y'all think about this?" And lucky for me, they were on board. And there's a lot of podcasts out there that talk about movies and pop culture, sure, but these guys are also masters of board games and tabletop games and things that maybe aren't talked about as much on some of those other pop culture podcasts. So I thought it was a good opportunity to kind of add some insight there. So this isn't going to be a podcast where we just review a movie each episode or something like that. We might talk about some movies, things that we've all seen, some of our takes. We might talk about some news items, but really it's the stuff that we care about. It might not necessarily be the top news headline of the day or of the week, but it's just kind of what we decided, hey, I want to talk about this, or this hit me this week. And then also here's some things in the past week that I found to be pretty cool. And I thought that would be fun to kind of add a little bit more diversity into the array of content that is on each week on Fresh Out the Box's stream.
Yeah.
Yes, and we just barely talked about a format right as we got on. We're going to do spoiler-free of movies and content and everything in the first half for everybody who wants to hear about cool nerd stuff coming up, and then we're going to do maybe some spoilers. Not intentionally spoilers, but maybe some spoilers in the second half. That one's put on your earmuffs. We might spoil something.
It's okay. I'll put this spoiler alert icon up, just to warn people.
We can do it. Like I said, we can do it in the second half, and then we can release. When we release 2 episodes, we can have one that's a spoiler episode, one that's spoiler free for your commute.
For your commute. Yeah.
And as an example, Jahan and I both saw Black Widow already, but the great thing is we haven't talked to each other about it at all. So our first impressions to each other will be here live on the podcast stream. So
I'm pretty
that's
excited.
pretty exciting.
I like just
Did
watched
Jahan
it.
hate it? Did he love it? Did he does he even remember watching it? You know, was it so forgettable that he already forgot the movie? I mean, we don't know.
We're already here. Why don't we open with Black Widow then? Spoiler free, since we're in the first half.
Well, yeah. So first off, you know, to get into that subject, I think it's worth noting, since the pandemic hit and, you know, theaters have started reopening, it looks like right now the estimates are in, and my facts right, it looks like Black Widow's set to make about $90 million this weekend, which
Holy
is pretty
shit.
which will be the record breaker for the pandemic era. You know, Fast 9 got about 70 million a couple weeks ago, and now this is poised to hit 90 million, which is interesting too, because unlike Fast 9, Black Widow is on the Disney Plus Premier Access, so people can pay to watch it at home, and that is not reflected in the box office totals that are reported. So it's worth noting that it probably made more.
Are you going to talk about Fast 9 also?
Not bad for a family movie,
but I did see it.
I would like you to talk about Fast 9. I am not going to see it until it's streaming somewhere a year or two from now, because it's a fucking Fast and the Furious movie, but I would love to hear you talk about how it's exactly what I expected it to be.
I will only watch it if I am locked in a room for the rest of my life, and it's the only movie.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
Trash.
You know what?
I have a soft spot. I have a soft spot for those.
Those movies to me are like whenever you look. It's like whenever you eat a chili dog, right? And 2 hours later you have a beefy fart, and you just stew in your own fart, and you think it's funny, and you don't think it's that bad, but everyone else wants to puke. That's how I feel about the Fast and the Furious movies. They're just my own fart. They're so
likes
bad.
their own brand.
Yeah, they're so bad. They're awful, but I really don't mind stewing in those movies.
Yeah.
Fast 5, I believe, is legitimately a great movie in every way. It is amazing. It introduced The Rock to the franchise. It had this amazing, safe car chase at the end, if you remember, where they're dragging a safe through the streets. I mean, that movie is fantastic. Ever since those, I was officially on board. I do think that those movies, when you see the most recent iterations without Paul Walker, I think there's a big hole missing there. They still make it work, but just to keep it short and sweet, Fast 9 is probably on the lower tier of Fast and the Furious movies for me.
And you'd probably put Too Fast, Too Furious down there, which is one of my favorites.
I probably have Too Fast, Too Furious more in the middle, to be honest. You'd be surprised.
Tokyo Drift or bust.
I put 8 pretty low. 6 is a little lower for me. Like, for me, it's 5, and then 1, 7. And then that's when you get into, you know, like, and so on. Oh, the fourth one is not very good either.
So I rewatched 1. I didn't know we were going to talk about Fast and Furious, but here we are, so why not? So I rewatched 1 at some point, and it was not good. And I rewatched Too Fast, Too Furious, and my wife got up and she was walking out of the room, and I was like, "Where are you going?" And she's like, "I'm not going to finish watching this. It's like watching a softcore porno nonstop." And I just burst out laughing and was like, it really is like an MTV music video from beginning to end, with like girls in bikinis and sports cars and car washes and ludicrous. Like, it just doesn't stop. It really is. And I think to me, that's the charm of the movie, is it's so classically 2000s garbage that I think you'd be hard pressed to find a better example.
You know, in the first movie where they're robbing the 18-wheeler?
Yes.
You know what they're stealing, right?
Yes. Are they stealing VCRs?
They're stealing combination TV VCRs. And they're risking their lives.
I thought it was DVD players. Is that what it is?
It was combination, either DVD or VHS. It was one of those, but it was a TV and it was an all-in-one. And they were...
Love it.
They had to have them. Oh man.
I mean, the ninth movie, I mean, they've officially entered self-aware territory to a degree where like they just know that they're over the top ridiculous, and that's fine. That's entertaining. You know, do they go into space? I don't, go see it and see it in theaters, or wait till it comes out on streaming. I think that's fine. I think if you're really itching to get out to the theater to go see a big blockbuster movie, you're gonna get that enjoyment out of it. But if you like to just watch the Fast and the Furious movies at home, I think you're gonna be just fine waiting. Black Widow, on the other hand, Jahan, did you go see it in theaters or did you get it through the Disney Plus Premiere access?
Yeah, I got it through Access. Watched it at home. I liked it. I thought it was exciting. It was really cool to see. I feel like it would have been amazing if it had come out a few years ago. Given the subject matter. And that after credit scene, everybody watch that after credit scene. It's good stuff. And it really sets up some things. So
I think that just a standalone Black Widow movie for whatever reason. I think I just had low expectations going into it. It'd been delayed so much, and also, I don't think it's spoiler to say because everybody in the world saw Avengers Endgame, but we all know what the fate of Black Widow was in that movie, and so you're kind of watching this going, well, what's the point? Is it too little, too late?
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, I had fun watching. I came out of it liking it more than I thought I was going to.
Definitely.
But it's this big, Scarlett Johansson is the only female of the original Avengers finally getting her own movie, and I think the most interesting thing about that is she's kind of the least interesting part of the movie itself. Like there's some really good supporting characters in it. Like David Harbour is great, Florence Pugh is amazing, which I'm a really big fan. Really big fan of Florence Pugh in general.
Dude,
and
I do not
think
know. I did not. I don't know if I've ever seen her in anything before, but holy crap, that woman is great.
the last movie she was in theaters was Little Women that came out, I think in 2019. And she was nominated for an Oscar for it. She's really good in it. She's playing young in that. I think Gary might have seen Fighting with My Family. That's the WWE-inspired movie of Paige, and she played Paige in that movie. She was the lead.
Shit. So I do know who she is, and I didn't know that I knew who she was. And she was actually really good in that movie. The movie was produced by The Rock, and
yes,
and it seemed like it was produced by The Rock. The scenes that had him, he was like super inspirational and motivational. And I've watched a lot of wrestling stuff behind the scenes, and really nobody talks about The Rock. I think that maybe he kept to himself and might have been a bit of a dickhead, but not a huge asshole. But that movie made him seem super sweet and inspirational, and that's not how I think he probably was at the time.
Probably not at the time. Okay. Yeah, to your point, I think that
Aceblade, what up?
Yeah, we have the
sorry,
who I can only assume is the creator of the indie comic Aceblade in our chat right now. Aceblade's on Kickstarter right now as an indie comic, and the creator, I believe, is the person talking in chat, who apparently liked the movie as well.
I literally have Aceblade open as my 5th tab right now, the Kickstarter of it. The art looks awesome. It's on our list to talk about today, and I've got it. Looking at it, it's right there. It already hit its funding goal, which is fucking awesome, but not awesome enough. Let's try to get as much money to indie comic creators as we can.
Absolutely.
Especially when not to every indie comic creator, ones that actually put in and do hard work and bust ass, because this fucking rules. If you,
it looks cool.
Yeah, it does. So that's probably Danny. What's up, Danny? Mr. J Quick.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, Drew, I liked it. I went in with low expectations. Well, not low, but like I didn't expect a great movie, but it was cool. The villain reveal was cool. I like what they did with it at the end. I was interested to see how the story started. That was all cool. The action was intense. And who doesn't love beautiful women flipping around? David Harbour was hilarious.
He was pretty funny. Which I like David Harbour in general.
I do too.
But he's kind of one of those guys that when he pops up and stuff now, I'm just not quite used to it enough yet. And when he's in stuff, I'm like, oh man, I like him. He's funny. I think he's an enjoyable presence. Rachel Weisz is really good in it as well. She played the quote unquote mother of Natasha Romanoff, Black Widow. Yeah, we'll get into more of the spoiler stuff later. I don't want to go too much into the plot,
definitely.
but I think that it's not really a spoiler to say the movie picks up right at the end of Captain America: Civil War.
It does.
So it's kind of like I've seen all the Marvel movies. Like, I'm a really big comic book fan. I always tell people I was a comic book fan before it was cool. I was buying comics, collecting comics before the MCU days, before even like the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies came out, that I think really kind of, the X-Men movies and Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie, I think really kind of started getting Marvel back on the map. And like, I like to point out, I was collecting it before then. Let's get it right.
So to be clear, I've known Drew since 4th grade, and we're 32 now. So we were 10 in 1998, 1999, and we were collecting comics 2 years later. We were collecting comics. My brother got us really into it. He was 6 years older, and he would drive us to comic book stores around town. And so we were collecting comics when we were 12 back in 2000. I was a Punisher guy. Drew had a huge collection compared to me. I would pretty much only buy the Marvel Dark... what was that line? The Dark Knights? The Marvel Knights line.
Yeah.
I bought Daredevil. I bought Moon Knight. I bought Punisher. But Drew bought Spider-Man, he bought X-Men, he bought Captain America, Avengers, and he would stay up with all the main lines, and I just kind of knew about these nitty-gritty, dark alley beat-your-ass characters that would kind of cross over to his lines sometimes, and then I would get really excited whenever there would be a big Marvel event and my characters would cross over with his characters. We'd read about it. So yeah, we're I guess not old school nerds, right? Because those guys are from like the 80s now, so we're the middle school nerds. They're not
for nerds. A reference, Deadpool wasn't even on the radar back then. Like, now Deadpool's this pop culture phenomenon, and he wasn't then. And I remember Gary getting a new Deadpool comic at that time, and me, as a little 11 or 12-year-old being like, who is Deadpool? What? When you try to explain it to somebody back then who doesn't know, it sounds like, how does that even work? As a character.
Yeah, I too. I wouldn't say that I collected them. Not like you guys. You guys like went ham. But I definitely read comic books back then, and I was all about Spider-Man, X-Men, and Superman. Those are my big three. I don't know. I was when I was growing up, I idolized Superman. He was badass. How could you not when you're a little kid?
It's funny.
Spider-Man was huge for me.
I used to collect the Justice League comics, actually, when I was really, really little. In like 1st and 2nd grade, I would pick them up from Kroger. And they were like trash tier comics, right? They weren't good at all. They were like cereal box brand comics. But they were still Justice League. And I remember when Superman turned blue and black because he flew into power lines, and then he got electricity powers. And even as a 2nd or 3rd grader, I was like, what the fuck are you talking
See,
about?
I loved Blue Spider-Man Blue Superman because I was a child. So as a 2nd grader, I was pissed. I was like, really? Power lines? Like, he hasn't flown through a zillion power lines or been bashed through them in fights before. And like, now he has electricity powers, and I just stopped. As a kid, I was like, no more comics. I was like, finally, a Superman for me. Like, I had a very different reaction.
That's great. That is very good.
Moving back to Black Widow, the thing I was going to say is that I had, I've seen all the MCU movies. Most of them I've seen probably more than once, but I'm not one who continuously rewatches them, or I rewatch all of them before the new one comes out. Like, I don't care enough to do that. And I watch a lot of movies in general, so sometimes I'd rather be watching something new than something I've seen before. That being said, Black Widow, where it kind of starts, and right after Civil War, like, I am sitting there in the theater, kind of having to go through, like, I don't even know what she was doing. Where was she? And so what did she do? How did it end for her? What did she do there? And I do kind of remember that she was on Tony Stark's side, and then she kind of ended up helping Steve Rogers along the way, I believe. So she was, so basically they would have been after her due to the Sokovia Accords, I think that they call it in the MCU. So anyway, so it's a little bit disorienting when you see the movie to try to get your brain back to that place.
Yes.
Now, that being said, I think it is a pretty good standalone story, and maybe it would have been better coming out back then. But I ended up being entertained and happy to get it now.
I liked what it did. I liked what it showed. I liked all that stuff. If it had come out after Civil War, it would have been amazing. I think it would have been truly an amazing movie. And then they could have put that end credit scene like at the end of like Falcon and Winter Soldier or something, like they could have moved that. And it would have had the same effect.
Yeah.
It would have been cool. You've been like, oh my God, I can't believe that's happening. Yeah, I can't wait to talk about it with spoilers.
We'll get to that soon enough.
Yeah,
we'll go through a couple other just quick news items before we hit our hits. I wanted to bring this up because I can't remember how long ago, about a week ago or so, the director Richard Donner passed away, and he's most well known for, I think for directing, The Omen, Superman, the Christopher Reeve, original 1978 Superman, but he also directed the Goonies and Lethal Weapon and so on. And I only brought it up because me talking here with Gary, the first time I ever saw the Goonies was at Gary's house, probably with Thomas's older brother and a friend, and I'd heard of it but had never seen it, and we watched it. And I think it's one of those movies that some people our age or older have nostalgic ties to. So I was just curious to see, I wanted to bring it up, not to say that y'all went back and watched any Richard Donner movies because he passed away, but do any of those movies have any kind of nostalgia value for y'all?
So how many Lethal Weapons did he do?
It looks like he did all of them.
I can tell you this.
Yeah, it looks like he did. So he has 82 director's credits.
So he directed all 4 Lethal Weapon movies.
I could probably find some in the list that have some nostalgic value, but specifically, I think it's Lethal Weapon 3 that has Jet Li. And
4.
Is it 4? Yeah. And it starts off with like this flamethrower scene in the street.
The fire. Oh
yeah. The guy who has the Walkman and the flamethrower. Yeah, man, that scene sticks out to me in my head as being like a really iconic action scene. And totally setting the pace for the movies. It's like, there's a guy in a flamethrower suit in the middle of the street. Like, that's not a thing, right? That doesn't happen. And then the cops are 2 guys in, like, plain clothes with guns. They're not in uniform. They're not responding in a car. They're just 2 guys. The guy in the flamethrower, he's playing a song about fire, so it's right on the nose. And then Jet Li is the bad guy. So I just know that, like, we have a kung fu bad guy also. I love Jet Li growing up as a kid, so like, yeah, that movie, totally dope. I got nothing but thumbs up for Lethal Weapon 3.
4.
That's like the epitome of just 1998 right there.
I love Lethal Weapon 4. That is also my favorite Lethal Weapon. I watched it all the time when I was a kid. It looks like he also did Timeline with Paul Walker, I love that movie.
You did bring up the Goonies, so I'll answer on the Goonies. I like coming-of-age movies. I really do. I don't really like the Goonies. I don't like the acting in the Goonies, except for Sean Astin. And
you mean Samwise Gamgees?
Yes, the Samwise Gamgees. I like Sean Astin, and I like the older brother.
Oh, Josh Brolin.
Josh
believe, plays
Brolin. Yeah, I like
brother.
young Josh Brolin as the older brother.
Thanos.
Yeah, Thanos. That's what I was trying to think of. Little Thanos.
I don't think that's necessarily the hottest of takes. I think that there's a lot of people that just, for whatever reason, the Goonies wasn't one that stuck with them or was one of their favorites as a kid.
Nobody.
I think Jahan's about to say otherwise.
Nobody attacked me on Twitter or anything. I haven't seen it.
That's okay. I can't be mad at you for not seeing it. People are going to be more mad at me for just blatantly not liking it. I just don't. I do not like it. And it's kind of got a soft spot in nerd culture heart. And I would say I would like to see the Goonies remade, and people would shit an ass about the remakes, about how bad it would be. But I think it would be better with a remake. I honestly do. I think they could.
Are you trying to tell me that there are people on the internet who would come after you for not liking something that they like? Because I can't see that happening.
Then telling them that I want a remake made. Not only do I not like your piece of shit, I want them to remake it with different people and do it better. That's really going to piss them off.
So since we're talking about the Goonies, right on topic, the Goonies just dropped a board game called The Goonies Never Say Die. Came out this year. And it has an 8.4 on Board Game Geek. And anyone who's in the know, Board Game Geek, like that's the real score there.
That's the only one.
8.4, anything above a 6 means it's buyable. You know, and 8.4 is high.
So I don't hate the Goonies universe. I'd play a Goonies board game.
Yeah, there's a Goonies board game out now. Just a little bit of that nerd news for you. It's brand new, so it's very topical. So I can actually.
Yeah.
Here you go.
I like the adventure and I like the setting in the Goonies. I just think the only thing was some of the child actors were bad. That's all. And actually, the bad guys they were pretty cheesy too. The acting wasn't great. The adventure was neat. I'll play the board game, the adventure game. I bet it's dope as fuck.
So for Richard Donner, should we all do the truffle shuffle?
As a salute. I'll let you do it. I think that was appropriate. If for anybody that is listening to this just the audio later, if you want to go back and hunt the video, Jahan did stand and do a little bit of a truffle shuffle for your viewing pleasure. But yeah,
you let down the listeners at home because they couldn't hear your truffle shuffle, and if they can't hear it, still can't hear it. For some reason, I didn't pick up on the mic. Oh, yeah, there we go.
That was my cheek for everyone listening at home. Don't call the cops. But yeah, rest in peace.
Rest in peace, Richard Donner. Moving on, I wanted to talk about this because, Jahan, I think you probably in particular the most. I know, Gary, you dabble with the Nintendo Switch, but there was a new model that was announced this week.
Yeah, it was.
And it had been rumored, if you are one to be on the Reddits or on the interwebs, as they say, I think there was a lot of rumors and speculation for over the past year that Nintendo was working on basically like a pro version of the Nintendo Switch, similar to what we saw with the Xbox One and PS4 generation, where they kind of got a half step up, a more powerful console, the same console, but more power, 4K, that kind of stuff. And the Nintendo Switch OLED model was announced this week, and it was announced to have a 7-inch OLED screen, which I'm sure looks very pretty. OLED screens are pretty fantastic. I had a Vita that had one, and I think the normal Switch screen is like 6.2 inches. This is a little bit bigger. It has a wider adjustable stand.
Yes.
It has the dock has a actual wired LAN port for like online gaming. It actually looks really slick. The stand is white. The why am I blanking on the name of the controllers for the Switch? Get me here, John. Joy-Cons, thank you. The Joy-Cons are white. They look slick. All that, and then of course it has some big more internal storage for the system, and that's it. And it retails for $50 higher than the regular Switch model. It is not any more powerful. It doesn't output 4K. It doesn't have more RAM. It doesn't have any better technical specs other than having a nicer, bigger screen and some other, adjustments to the dock. And so I think
It has
a lot of Switch fans
doesn't it have
were
a
pretty
very,
disappointed.
very small internal memory upgrade. I mean, so I know that like the Xbox and the PlayStation and even phones and computers have massive internal memory, but the Switch's is very small, and the new one is twice that size, which is still very small.
See,
but at least they doubled
like
the internal memory, right?
I feel like they would have to go out of their way to not double the internal memory. Just with the advancement of technology itself, like the screen's bigger, which means there's probably more space in there. And so they would have to do something. Otherwise, there's just going to be like this void in there of unused space.
I love that a Nintendo Switch literally cannot install Call of Duty Warzone. It's not for the system, but Call of Duty Warzone is 110, 120 gigs or some shit. The Switch couldn't hold it. It couldn't play one modern first-person shooter. That's crazy to me.
Yeah.
But I'm not knocking the Switch in any means. I just think that's crazy.
It does. I do like that you can put whatever memory card you want in there. I have an upgrade.
Yeah, you can get those off-brand micro SD cards that are much cheaper than the Nintendo
and those can give you some
ones.
space. I have one in mine. I don't know how big mine is. Mine's probably like half a terabyte, but it's pretty good. The OLED, if you don't have a Switch and you've been wanting one, get it. It's, $50 more and you do get a better system. It's bigger screen, wired LAN, which is definitely a big help when you're playing online if you're going to be going on Smash Bros. Tournaments online,
Don't do that. Don't play Smash Bros. Online with your friends because the Switch has the worst party audio matchmaking functions of any modern system.
See,
while we're here knocking the Switch's internal memory, let me take a shit on the Switch's party making also. It sucks.
See, I do tend to excuse that because it does make it much harder for predators to get at the child community that is prevalent in the Nintendo Switch. I really do feel like Nintendo Switch hamstrings itself in certain respects for the safety of children. I really do think that that's part of it. And I got to respect that.
I think that that's what they say. And that's it. I think that that's what they say. I don't believe that that's effective. I don't think that's what they're doing. And, back when we were in, 2001, 2002, when Xbox was coming out, it came with a headset and it came with party chat functions.
Yeah.
For PlayStation 2, when you were playing Ghost Recon Online, it had a headset and it had party functions. And here we are in 2021, but this, the Switch came out in 2019 or whatnot. But still, no headset, no party functions. Use your phone, use the app, it sucks, man.
I don't know if maybe that's like a cultural thing in Japan. Maybe they're just not they don't online game as much. I don't know. But the PlayStation, I understand, doesn't have the best online either. And so those are both the Japanese consoles. Maybe it's just a Japanese thing. I don't know.
PlayStation is way more functional. It actually has party and matchmaking and effective friends lists and being able to join your friends and things like that. But it's also really ugly compared to Xbox.
While we're talking about it, Xbox's party system has been just shitting out nonstop the past 2 weeks for us. So I don't know, man.
But
it's all a crapshoot.
Is ugly menus. You have to back out of menus and go back into menus and wait for load screens and stuff in between, and it's really strange and it's bad. It's just not streamlined with no quality of life updates. Since the PlayStation came out, it has the exact same dashboard. And Xbox annoyingly updates their dashboard once or twice a year, and it's annoying for the first week while you learn where everything is. But then it's quality of life, dude. It runs really fast. It's streamlined. You can run straight into apps. You can run straight into Spotify from your game without shutting the game down. There's a lot of really fast, smooth transition stuff you can do with the Xbox.
I'm a big fan. I have a I have a Series X. It runs amazingly. All my games run super fast.
Very
It's
jealous.
been. I'm a big Xbox fanboy as far as if we're talking about the consoles in particular. Going back to some of the things y'all were saying about the Switch and online play. I think just the thing with the Switch that's interesting is that despite how much the tech is lagging behind, Xbox and PS5 too, that it's just this Nintendo has their hardcore fan base that don't really even seem to care about that.
Yeah.
They, despite the fact that the Switch is so far behind, it hasn't really seemed to hinder it very much. It's been, the top selling console past couple of years, I think.
Big time.
And I always think it's interesting that the attach rate of games are super high. Like there are people that buy a PlayStation or an Xbox and then all they buy every year are the new Madden and the new NBA 2K and then maybe buy the new GTA when it comes out. Whereas the Switch, like people that buy a Switch are buying Mario Kart and they're buying Pokemon and they're buying the new Mario game or Zelda game, and that's people buy that console for those things. And so I think the Nintendo is perfectly fine just kind of doing their own thing, even though sometimes it makes you just kind of tilt your head and scratch the top of your head wondering what they're doing. I think this OLED model of the Switch makes people do that because I think a lot of people were just excited to be able to upgrade their Switch to the new
I get
beefier
that.
model.
I get that.
And at the end of the day, I think you said it best, Jahan. This is a model that's for people who don't have one that are wanting to get one. It's like, well, if you're gonna get one, spend the extra $50 and get this nicer
I would
one.
definitely say spend the 50. So is that a pass or play for you there on the OLED model?
It's gonna be a pass for me. If something happened and my current Switch crapped out or something and I was in need of a new model, I would happily pick up the OLED model. But with mine working perfectly fine, I can't in good conscience go and
there is a rumored limited edition Zelda OLED model as well. I'm not sure if that's real. I'm not sure if that's just
Anybody watching at home, we got a fucking eye roll from Drew on that one. I don't think it was intentional, but
I'm just not big on the limited edition branded consoles. I've just never been big on that. I remember
it's only been for Switch for me.
So I didn't have a DS, and when I went to go buy a DS way back when, I could get like blue or red, and at the time they had the Gold Zelda Triforce one, and I was like, well, hell yeah, I'm gonna take the Gold Zelda Triforce one. That's dope as hell. But other than that, yeah, like I'm not gonna go out and pick one up because it is a collector's edition. Yeah. But if I don't have one, I might get it. The same way you're talking about the OLED screen. If you don't have it, I might get it. I'm gonna go pass for the OLED because I give a pass to the Switch because I'm a fucking dick face. We're all broke, man. We're all 30-something now, and we're all broke. And if you're younger than us, you're probably broke too, unless you went to college. And if you did, good for you. And your struggle, I get it was hard, but everyone else is broke, and you can only afford one system. Don't make it a Switch. You can't even watch your Netflix on your Switch. Switch only has Hulu functionality. What the hell? You can't put a Blu-ray in or a DVD if you. What the hell? What's happening here?
Hey, that's what Chromecast is.
You're gonna play Animal Crossing? That shit is like Farmville, except on a platform instead of on your phone.
So if we're attacking, all right. So when
attacking. I'm just attacking Nintendo. The platform. Pass on it.
This just transitioned from will you or will you not get the new OLED model to Gary outright telling people just don't buy a Switch.
I saw it coming. No,
it's not. Let's really focus on what happened here. This is attack on Animal Crossing.
Yeah, Gary hated the new Animal Crossing.
This is a personal attack on Animal Crossing. So I have problems with that.
So when it comes to limited edition,
let's
Switches,
not. Can we not?
No.
Okay, sorry. No, go on, Jahan, please. I just didn't want Gary to get into the Animal Crossing rabbit hole.
I've heard it before. It's pretty
good. Labyrinth. There's no escape.
So
we're not trying to go for 4 hours tonight,
Yeah, as far as special editions go, I got Jenny the limited edition Diablo Switch for Christmas one year or whatever. And then like years later they came out with the Animal Crossing limited edition, and she's a big fan. So what we did was I transferred everything to the Diablo one from my Switch, and then I took her Switch, and then she got that Switch with the money from the sale. So we both have limited edition Switches. I have the Diablo Switch, and then she has the Animal Crossing one. It made her really happy. I don't know. So if you like that kind of thing, go for it. That's my opinion on it. Just Marie Kondo that.
The only one that I would have considered is, if you remember back in the day, there was an Xbox 360 that came out that had the R2D2 print, like it was made to look like an R2D2. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, that's funny. You should say that. Jenny has that.
Well, I was gonna say I saw that one and thought it was kind of cool, but didn't get it because I'm not a giant nerd. So
Jenny is a giant nerd. No, so the Xbox looks like R2D2, the controller looks like C3PO, and when you turn it on, it goes like that R2D2 noise. And all the noises on the Xbox are R2D2 noises, and it's the coolest. She still has it in her room.
That is actually pretty cool.
Jenny's a huge Star Wars nerd. The Ace Blade, yeah, I'll play every Zelda and Mario game possible. Absolutely. So that transitions me to one of my talking points. The re-release, I already know, Gary. I already know, all right, man?
What?
I already
Ocarina
know.
or Bust?
No, the re-release of Skyward Sword.
Oh, I'm just going to get the fuck out of here while you talk about re-release games, because we all know my feelings on that shit.
I have two that I actually want to talk about tonight, but the first one is Skyward Sword, since we're talking about the Nintendo Switch. I have never actually played Skyward Sword. I missed that one.
Oh.
And so I'm excited for a chance to play it.
I'm honestly probably going to pick it up when it comes out. I did play it was on the Wii. I had to remind myself of which console Skyward Sword was for, because it was for the Wii. And it had the little motion attachment. It came with it that went on the back of the Wiimote because you had more movement for Link's sword and stuff. And it functioned well enough. I think that was probably the biggest complaint about the game, is some people just wanted to be able to sit back and play a Zelda game. But it was a pretty solid Zelda game, I thought at the time. I'm looking forward to playing the new one. The re-release on the Switch. It's been a while. It's been 10 years since I played it, or close to it. It's got to be somewhere around that.
Yeah, here they're gonna do Twilight Princess and Wind Waker as well. Twilight Princess I didn't beat, so I would like another chance at it. Wind Waker I also missed because I never owned a GameCube, so I'm excited for both of those. I loved Link's Awakening when they re-released that. I loved the special edition Amiibo. I have too many Amiibos. I have most of the Zelda Amiibos.
You want to hear a hot take?
Yeah.
I love the original Zelda games. I love, that. And The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is the most overrated Zelda game. It is just not what I wanted from a Zelda game. I get so many people love the freedom and all that stuff, but I like my traditional, the dungeon crawler, collect the things and make the thing that's more powerful, but not in a giant open world that takes me 80 hours. I just want to play my Zelda adventure, and even if Skyward Sword isn't people's favorite Zelda game, it gives me that. I am itching for the more classic Zelda-style game. We'll see how Breath of the Wild 2 looks when it comes out. I'll probably play it. I did play Breath of the Wild. I enjoyed it just fine, but the way that people were just raving for that game, it's just not that good. I
didn't care for Breath of the Wild, but I'll go so far as to defend them in that Ocarina and Majora's Mask definitely were as open world as the N64 could handle at the time. Those were the open world games. And so for them to come that far, I think is a natural progression where they're at, but I also didn't care for it. I am happy they made that.
Ocarina or Majora's Mask?
Ocarina.
Majora's Mask all day.
Majora's Mask all day.
I loved watching Drew play Majora's Mask. I remember all the cool transitions to the different races. The Goron and the Zora, and playing
and the Deku Shrub.
Yes,
don't forget.
And playing the awesome instruments and all the different masks, but I did not like playing the game.
Damn.
I didn't like the semi-timed and the resets and the time shifting shit. I didn't care for it. I liked being able to run around an ocarina with no punishment as to how long I could run around and screw off and do nothing and hook shot around town. That was one of my favorite parts, and that was taken away.
Majora's Mask was, oh my god! I have it on the DS right now. Actually, I played the shit out of it again, and it holds up in every way. Man, I wish I had my mask. I have a Majora's Mask that I 3D printed, but it's downstairs. I need to paint it, but it's really cool.
I'm about to out myself because going back to the limited edition consoles, the only ever one that I bought was the Majora's Mask 3DS that came out with the release of
Hot Fire, bro.
Majora's Mask. And to be fair, I did not have a 3DS at that time. I was not a DS owner at all, actually, and so I got that version, and it was a pretty cool version of the DS. But that's the only cool limited edition console that exists. So any other ones people have gotten, they wasted their money. But that one was pretty cool.
My 3DS is the Luigi's Mansion 3DS, which is
nice.
It's just blue. My mom bought it for me for Christmas, actually. One of the things my mom always, I don't know how she does it, because she doesn't know that much about like nerd stuff, but she knows more than she means to, I think, because anytime she's ever bought me any video game, console, anything, she always somehow like gets the deal, where it has all the cool DLC, it has like something special about it, always. And I've always been impressed about that with my mother.
You also had a note here about the Amiibo with Skyward Sword. Is that something that you...
Skyward
Amiibo
Sword
collector?
Amiibo coming out. So I specifically focus on the Legend of Zelda ones, but I kind of get just whichever Amiibos I like. I have like 50 at least. And I almost have every single Zelda one. The Skyward Sword Amiibo looks like hot fire. It's Link with one of the birds on... as one Amiibo, and it looks awesome. I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna show everybody it. It might be my new favorite Amiibo. Right now, my current one is my Banjo-Kazooie Amiibo, which is hot fire.
I only have
two. The name of those birds.
I only have a Ganondorf and a Yoshi.
Those are good ones. I don't think I have Ganon. He's one of the ones I'm missing. I'm missing Toon Zelda. I'm missing the Goblin thing. The Boblin.
The Ganondorf is from my Smash days. That guy was like level 120, level 140.
Yeah.
That Ganondorf, he could tear it up.
Yeah, I have my Princess Zelda from Smash. I love that one.
But you don't get attacked. The bird is called a Loftwing.
Ooh, Loftwing.
Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword. It is a Loftwing.
Oh, and another fun detail about Skyward Sword on the Switch, motion controls will remain intact.
Another really fun thing is that it's a remake and it's being released for full price. So if you're into that, you can shove that up your ass.
See, I feel like when it comes to re-releases, like when it comes to Link's Awakening, they built from the ground up, which is a little different, I feel. I don't think they did that with Skyward Sword, but I'm gonna buy it because I'm a sucker. I'm excited though. Yeah. Gary.
All right, Gary, let's pass it to you. What's one of your takes this week? Something that you wanted to talk about?
So I've got a good segue here. This one's a 2-for-1. So I'm big into Xbox, right? I'm big into Game Pass. I think Game Pass Ultimate is the best value in gaming right now. You get a lot of good titles, you get some free stuff along the way, and you also get some obscure, some trash mixed in, but hey, when you get a bunch of free crap, that's to be expected. So Golf with Friends is one of my favorite titles. It is a putt-putt golf game, straight and simple. You can make the ball jump. There's like Mario Kart style pickups like honey and turning people's balls into wacky shapes. It's a silly party game, but you can play with like 16 people. And we were playing the crap out of this game because it's easy. Anyone can play it, right? Any level of gamer can play a putt-putt game with their friends on these funny, wacky courses. And We played it for months. And then I'm watching TV, I'm kicking back on my Hulu machine, and I see Holy Moly, which is a TV show on right now on ABC. Have you guys seen this show?
I want to.
It's with Joe Tessitore and Rob Riggle. So it's an ABC ESPN sportscaster who's actually a real sportscaster who treats it like the whole thing is a real golf sport. Treats the putting like it's real, treats the competitors like they actually, some are pros and some are regular people. He knows all the facts. And then Rob Riggle, of course, you might know him from a whole bunch of different movies as a loud douchebag boss character. He's a comedian, and he's very intense. I think is sort of his comedic style.
He's the guy. I think of him as I think he's the cop in The Hangover, and they're practicing with the taser, and he tases the guy in the face, and he yells "in the face."
Yeah.
Oh, that guy.
So he's very intense, and he's very much a douchebag.
Step Bros.
Yes, he's like
one of the bosses. Like is
it Step Bros? Is it Step Brothers, not The Hangover?
He might be in The Hangover also, but he's in Step Brothers whenever they go for a job interview. He's like the manager who's interviewing them, but like the executive.
He's Derek's hype man. He's like, like it's the fucking Catalina wine mixer.
So yeah, you have Rob Riggle on one side who's trying not to be too foul because it's a family show, and then Joe Tessitore on the other side who's a good, like, clean anchor, nice middleman, and they're wacky putt-putt golf courses that are very much next to impossible. And you putt the ball, and then you have to do a physical challenge like Most Extreme Elimination Challenge on Spike TV. Or like American Gladiators. So like you're going to run and get knocked into a mud pit. Or you're going to get launched into freezing cold water. And if you succeed, then you don't get a stroke penalty. But no one ever succeeds. You're just going to fail it. Unless you're a superhuman. So it's really just funny. People getting smashed into shit and impossible putt-putt golf courses. I recommend it for stupid fun to watch.
Real quick, Ninjax says, "Hi, Drew, a.k.a. Welby Chaggery Cheeks."
Oh!
I guess that's a nickname for Drew.
That is actually my current D&D campaign character name. So that is definitely... hello, first off. Hello. But it must be somebody that is from my D&D group that I just don't know their Twitch name.
It is. That is friend of the show, Travis.
That's Travis.
That would have been my guess. His D&D character is named Shadow. So shout out to Travis and Shadow.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that's funny. The show you're talking about, I believe you said you started watching because you were looking for more after I turned you on to The Floor is Lava.
Yeah, so it's a lot like Floor is Lava, which if you guys haven't seen that on Netflix, that is really a treat.
It's hilarious. When they fall in the lava and they go under the water, they never show them again. So it's like they died. They like cut to like getting them out. They like cut it all away so it looks like they died. It's really funny.
Yeah, like most shows when you hit the water, like you come back up, it shows them swimming to the edge or it shows their panicked face of how cold the water is. But in Floor is Lava, it must be part of the network contract that when you fall in, you have to go under. Because everybody goes all the way head under, and it always shows them go under the lava, and it never shows them again until the team either wins or loses, and then it shows the whole team.
It's so funny.
And the whole team, everyone acts like their teammate died. Oh, no! Oh, no!
I will do my best to watch at least an episode before the next stream in 2 weeks.
It's on Netflix. It's easy to watch, and it's teams of 3, and it's like it's fake lava, but it's made by the same company that made Nickelodeon's Slime for all those years. And so they were sourced to make what looked like real lava, and they filled up an entire warehouse with this like soapy lava-like substance. Like they got an LA sound studio and filled it with this goo, and it's not too dense and it's not too light, and it kind of looks like lava, and it's slippery and soapy. And so these teams of 3 are trying to jump across slippery platforms to get to the opposite side, and sometimes they have to climb, and usually there's a trick in the room that makes the trek easier if they can figure out the clues based on the setting of the room. So it's a kind of it's much the same vein of Holy Moly. It's a competitive, physical, funny family show.
Holy Moly sounds great.
It's just good brain trash, I would say. It's not like reality TV that's going to make you a worse person for watching it. This is just a nice little laugh. This isn't some Jersey Shore type shit.
As I just watched the Big Brother premiere this week, but we won't talk about that.
To the creators
Not on
of
my
Golf
list
with
for a
Friends, we need more levels.
Yes, we do. We do need more levels in Golf with Friends. And that's another thing, Game Pass. I was telling you Game Pass is the best value. I had some Game Pass notes, and I bet you guys probably have some in your head also. I was just hoping to get it started. But two I'm looking forward to are Luminous Gate and The Ascent. So The Ascent, I'll start with that one because I don't know anything about it. It's like a third-person, super far zoomed out, sort of like a Diablo-esque type of view, but it's a cyberpunk co-op shooter. And it's an RPG. So it seems like it's going to be a top-down shooter with RPG elements, with a bunch of futuristic shit, and then some skills to go on top of all of that. So it seems like it could be a really cool time, a really colorful, interesting, fun time to play with friends.
Did mark that one for a pre-install. Again, talking about Game Pass, that's one that I don't know if I would have had much interest in or purchased, but with it being, exclusively on Game Pass day one and the ability to pre-install, I did select that because I know that y'all will probably be playing it, and if I'm going to play it, I'm going to play it with y'all. So
anything that comes out on Game Pass that is co-op is going to get at least 30 minutes of play in my ride.
Yeah.
I'm going to try it. I love co-op games.
Xbox Game Pass, I'll say it, is probably the best value in gaming right now. Because you are getting any first party title from Xbox Game Studios, and Bethesda, since they own them now, gets day one forever access on Xbox Game Pass. So you get every single game that they are releasing first party. Including like Halo, Back 4 Blood, I know is day one. I don't even know if they make that. I don't know how they got that, but they have a day one access. The Ascent, Luminous Gate, so many good ones coming up specifically. They've been knocking it out of the park with their selection lately, and their acquisition.
The deal with EA Play it's not forever, right? The EA Play could literally deal at, it could end at the end of the year. They might not.
Yeah, we don't know.
And it could last forever. It could be a beautiful partnership. I don't know. Who knows? Who cares? But for right now, you also have access to EA Play, which is most of the EA library.
Quite a bit of it. It's not all their new stuff day one.
Okay.
You do receive discounts.
You're right. Let me totally rephrase that. It is by no means most of the EA library. It is most of EA's major titles from the past 8 years or so. It's not their obscure shit. It is not your classic favorites when you were a kid. It is not every EA game. It's like all the Maddens and all the FIFAs and some NBA games, some NHL games, some shooters. They've got a pretty wide array of stuff. All the Star Wars games, I think, are on there. Rogue Squadron is the most recent one that popped up on there, which is also free on PlayStation Network right now. And if you have PSVR, it's the PSVR version, so you can get Rogue Pilot VR shit for free, which I'm gonna do very soon.
Jedi, what is it? Fallen Order is on there, I believe.
Yes, Fallen Order's on there.
Was awesome.
I hated Fallen Order because I Souls games.
You hate Souls games, yeah. If you like Souls games and you like Star Wars, you are missing out if you do not play Fallen Order. It is hot fire.
I do not play the Souls games because I'm really bad at video games, even though I play them all the time. But man, I loved Fallen Order, and it's one of those games that just took a hold of me when it came out, and I played it nonstop for a couple days until I 100%ed it with all achievements and all that good stuff. Because
I think I probably would have loved it as a kid because we were so starved for good Star Wars game content as kids that it would have been awesome. And as an adult,
we still are starved for good Star Wars games.
I was going to say, having already played KOTOR and KOTOR 2, now I have something to compare Star Wars games to. I compare them all to the KOTORs now. The last game I was going to talk about was Lemnis Gate. Now we've mentioned it over and over, but what is it? It's a co-op game. It's a tactical game. It's a turn-based game. It's at least 2v2 online. So hopefully it's also 2v AI, and Jahan and I can play chess with RPG units and kill bad guy units. That seems like fun.
It does seem like fun. It seems like a lot of fun.
We've recently been playing Pit People.
Pit People, yes.
Which is
made of Castle Crashers.
The Behemoth is what their studios are called, I think. The Behemoth. And so Pit People... I did
see y'all playing that the other night.
It was $20, and we were looking for a game that we could play co-op that was exactly like I explained. We wanted to play like some co-op chess with RPG elements, and that seems like such a simple idea, right? Like that game should have been existing since like N64, and why doesn't it? Because it's like the oldest game in the world, except let two people play it and let them upgrade their shit. But it's surprisingly hard to find a game that easy. So we found Pit People. It's only $20. It's really funny. So it's like mature rated, like Castle Crashers, but it's cartoony, but also like
the soundtrack is amazing.
Lots of poops and lots of farts and lots of beheadings. The soundtrack slaps. You can have over 100 characters in your like pool to choose from, but you have 6 character slots per person. Jahan has 6, I have 6. I can put whoever I want in my 6 slots. You can change their helmets. The heavier the helmet, the stronger the armor, and the less damage you do. So you can have different helmets and then different weapon types. Like if you have a stunning weapon, it does more damage against people with helmets. Or if you have a sharp weapon, it does more crit damage. Things like that. There's bows. There's artillery cannons that shoot all the way across the map, but they don't have any close range. You can totally customize your team. You can do a zillion different things.
Yeah, and there's also...
Any enemy out in the world can be captured with a cage if they're the last enemy on the field. So if you kill who you want in a smart way and you leave one enemy that you don't have a copy of yet, you can capture them in like a pseudo-Pokemon kind of way. Put them in a cage, take them back to your town, and slot them out on your team.
Yeah, because a lot of them are like humans, just regular humans, and they're all like the same... But there's also like vampires and giant werewolves and like unicorns that are artillery, and then
Cyclops and a poison mushroom guy and like a little poo who has a tuba, and when he plays his tuba, everyone gets attack speed around him. Like there's all sorts of
playing a tuba, yes.
So and for $20, it felt like a steal, man. That game it's also couch co-op. So Annie and I were playing it for hours. We had a blast. Then Jahan and I started playing it. We had a blast. It's definitely $20 worth of fun. I cannot recommend it enough. I'm so surprised it's not on Game Pass because it is a perfect Game Pass game. But that being said, it's also worth your $20. Not only is it a perfect Game Pass game, buy it. $20 is cheap as hell. If you and your friend are looking for something to do, the way the combat works is it's not as slow as a classic turn-based game. You pick the hex you go to, and since you already have your weapons and shit equipped from town, when you get to that hex, you attack somebody who's around that hex.
Yeah.
So if you're smart, you can choose exactly who you attack by where you place your troop, and sometimes you can't choose exactly who to attack. You can pick between like 2 or 3 targets if you're surrounded in a hex. So you move all your stuff, you hold Y, and then it goes boom, and the combat round starts.
Yeah, they all go all at once. It's pretty cool. It's very unique. I play all tactics games. I played most of them. I love tactics games. It's what I do. XCOM 2 is one of my favorite games of all time. This game is very unique. And the tactics, even though it's a $20 comedic RPG, the gameplay is solid. The tactics are solid. It's very fun.
And the game is fast to play. It is not slow like a lot of classic tactics games. Colorful, fast, fun. I can't recommend it enough.
So, I am looking at the time here. Do you guys want to break episode 1 and do episode 2 after the break? Or do you guys still have some stuff to fill up in here?
We've got 15 minutes before I thought we would really...
Oh, you want to do it at the 9:30 mark?
Before we need to take a break. So is there anything... I mean, if you guys want to take a break, we can do that too. But if there's anything we need to get out in these last 15 minutes...
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's try to shove those out, and then we can take our break.
Go through a couple things, if that's okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
We talked Black Widow earlier, and to switch from video games for a bit, and I'm going to shift it back to movies. I'm not going to talk about too much in depth like I did like Jahan and I did, and Will, with Black Widow, since we will be talking spoilers later. I'm going to just talk about some of the movies that I've seen recently. First off, I have these listed here, but I'm not going to go in order, so I apologize, John, if that screws you up.
No, I'm good.
Stuff I watched on Amazon Prime, The Tomorrow War. Did either of you see this new Chris Pratt big budget action movie?
I saw some of it. I saw like the beginning. I had a stream that night, so I didn't get to watch the whole thing. But I saw up until when they jumped. That's where I started watching.
So,
have you ever not watched something and you knew that it was going to be like a 6 out of 10 at best? Because that's how I felt when I saw the cover for that. I was like, that's not going to be great.
Yeah, so first off, to give a little background on this movie that I find to be interesting is, during the pandemic when theaters shut down, some of the studios started selling off their movies to streaming services. That was, a common thing that was happening. Paramount was probably the one that was doing that the most. I don't have a list in front of me, but off the top of my head, there's a movie called The Lovebirds with I believe it's with Kumail Nanjiani's in it, and they sold that off to Netflix. They sold they released Paramount Plus. They did the newest SpongeBob movie, went to that. They did the Tom Clancy Without Remorse movie with Michael B. Jordan. They sold that off to Amazon Prime. There were a few other ones. It's going to bother me. Hold on. I have to know. It's going to bother me.
Fun fact, supposedly, Tom Clancy both knew and disliked my grandmother.
I love that fun fact every time. I always forget and remember.
Let's see. Releases. Oh, The Trial of the Chicago 7 was sold off to Netflix, amongst other ones. Anyway, Paramount held on to their sure bets. They held on to A Quiet Place Part 2. They held on to Top Gun Maverick, the Top Gun sequel. Those were some of their big budget ones that they believe need the theatrical release, that they're going to make money. They sold off, a lot of the rest of their slate to go straight to streaming. The Tomorrow War is one of the victims of that. It's like a big $200 million big budget action alien movie starring Chris Pratt. Sounds like something that would come out in theaters. Instead, you can stream it day one, this past 4th of July weekend on Amazon Prime. It's not very good. It's about a guy. There's an alien war in the future, and Earth is losing, and so they resort to going back to the past, which in the movie is the present, taking people from the present and bringing them to the future to fight in the war against aliens to try to save Earth.
Yeah, which I actually thought was cool.
Grab that.
That's a neat premise.
Yeah,
cool premise. Chris Pratt is not funny in it. He plays a smart scientist who's not wisecracking like we're used to seeing him in movies, so he's pretty badly utilized in it.
I was going to say, this sounds like they've made a mistake. That's like any time you cast Ryan Reynolds to play anyone other than Ryan Reynolds.
I was going to say, Ryan Reynolds is a great example.
He's been Van Wilder, and now he's still Van Wilder, and Van Wilder is an awesome Deadpool, and Van Wilder was awesome in Waiting, and that's just Ryan Reynolds. It's why you fucking hire him. He crushes that role.
Exactly. So Chris Pratt just seems almost out of place in this. That being said, fun premise. The aliens actually look pretty cool, but are you going to get like a super quality piece of cinema on your home TV? Probably not, but it's mindless, something you can throw on. But anyway, I watched that. I also watched Fear Street Part 1, Fear Street 1994. I don't know if y'all have heard about this. Netflix released this last weekend, and they're doing a 3 releases in a row. So Fear Street 1994 came out last weekend. This week, Fear Street 1978 came out, and then next weekend Fear Street 1666 will come out. And so these are based on the old R.L. Stine books, Goosebumps was popular with us, and he also did. I think Fear Street was aimed towards older kids than the Goosebumps books were, but this is a series. It's super campy 90s style horror movie. I had a lot of fun with it. If you want to catch that, the first and second iterations of Fear Street are on Netflix. They're both like an hour 45.
I will definitely be checking that out. Definitely.
I recommend it if you like, 90s kind of like Scream, I Know What You Did Last Summer, kind of, campy horror. Absolutely give this one a watch. It's pretty fun. I've only seen the first one. The second one just came out this weekend. I actually might even watch it tonight. We'll see. But I do recommend it. It's pretty fun. You're not going to get like a lot of big name actors or anything like that. And it's a lot younger aged kids as the main characters, but it's fun. So I give that a recommendation. Also on streaming exclusively on HBO Max, there's a new Steven Soderbergh movie. Steven Soderbergh, known for the new Ocean's trilogy, as well as a few other movies of note. I'm not going to go into his filmography, but he did a new kind of heist movie. The cast for this movie is nuts. Don Cheadle, Benicio del Toro, David Harbour, John Hamm, Brendan Fraser, Kieran Culkin, Ray Liotta. It's interesting movie. It's one of those kind of heist movies that it's a little bit hard to follow the plot at times, but you're watching these really good actors. No Sudden Move.
That sounds good.
Yeah, Julia Fox is also in it. She's, if you ever saw Uncut Gems, the new Adam Sandler movie that came out just a couple of years ago.
I love heist movies, and from that I mean most of the Oceans until they became too self-aware, and then both of the magician ones. Now You See Me's? Catch Me? Yeah, Now You See Me. I was going to say Catch Me If You Can, but that's yeah. Both of the Now You See Me's are very, very good. And so I think I like heist movies. Again, we talked about Fast Five, where they heist the bank vault down the road in Rio. I love that bank heist, too. So I think if there's a heist I'm in, and that cast you mentioned was all-star as hell.
Speaking of heist movies, I need to watch Army of the Dead. That's a zombie heist movie. That sounds awesome.
Is that's the Netflix one with Batista, right?
With Dave Bautista's? Yeah, yes, sir.
So report back, because I've heard nothing but awful reviews about that.
I've heard okay things.
I heard
that is the new Zack Snyder movie.
Yes, I heard that somehow they made a zombie tiger boring. So if that's the whole review I heard was one sentence that
I'll let you know. I don't like Zack Snyder, so that's an immediate red flag for me.
I love Batista.
I love Batista. I love zombies. I'm excited. Speaking of Netflix zombies, Black Summer Season 2. I finished it the other night. I liked it. Good zombie action. Good stuff.
I don't know.
I wanted to watch Army of the Dead, and every time I'd be about to hit play, I'd see that 2.5 hour runtime, and I was just like,
same.
Can't do it. Like I can't. I don't want this right now. And so it's still on my list of to watch. I just haven't. And now I feel like it kind of came and went, and people were talking about it for a weekend, and then now nobody's talking about it. So I feel like maybe I'll get around to it one day, but we'll see.
Hey, Jahan, while you're on zombies, you could talk about the zombie games coming out that you're excited for.
Right, I could talk about that. I definitely want to get into it later because I want to talk about LucasArts Studios.
Okay,
just a little bit, but so
that's something to look forward to after the break. Is we're going to talk about zombie video games.
Oh yeah, we could do that. There's several coming out that are very exciting, so that could be good. We'll talk about that after break. Also, so it's going to be a break for everybody watching live. It's going to be the end of episode 1 for everyone that is listening on the podcast. And we will be filming episode 2 live after the break. But before we cut, anyone have anything else they want to discuss?
I will mention one more movie, and then I will be done with movies for this session. Other than Black Widow spoilers later, which you should all make sure to tune into in part 2 of the show. Definitely watch that. It's going to be fun. But one more movie. Have y'all heard of the movie called Zola? Does that have any recognition?
I have not heard of it.
So I won't go too much into it. This is a movie I actually went and saw in theaters this past week, and this is a movie that is based off of a Twitter thread that happened back in 2015. It was a thread of 140 something odd back-to-back tweets from a woman nicknamed Zola about just a crazy night that she had that involves strippers and sex trafficking and all these things. And so they made a movie based off of that Twitter thread. This movie is absolutely bananas. I loved it. It is crazy. You don't know where it's going to go. It's very stylish. It's fun. Again, this one is still in theaters exclusively. I'm not sure if it will be on streaming or at least on video on demand soon. But if anybody is interested or maybe read the news stories about this crazy tweet thread that happened, and I mean, the movie literally starts and says based on the tweets by and has her name.
It's pretty cool.
That's not something you had to go out of your way to learn, huh?
There's a big Rolling Stone article that came out at the time that's called Zola Tells All, the real story behind the greatest stripper saga ever tweeted. And the movie is based off of that. And so definitely a unique watch. I give it a recommendation. And that is all for my movie talk for today.
That is very cool. Yeah, so everybody stay tuned after the break. Make sure if you're listening to tune in next week for the release of episode 2, where we'll be discussing. I have some Kickstarters planned, including Ace Blades and Indie Comic, several Kickstarter board games, such as Vulferian and Villagers expansions I'm very excited for. And then we're going to talk about everything that we didn't get to talk about just now. So, thank you, everyone, for listening. Thank you, everyone, for watching. And we'll be right back. everybody. Welcome back to Fresh Out the Podcast. I am Johannanon, the board game guru and game master extraordinaire.
I'm Casualty CDG, but you can call me Gary. I'm a retired detective turned tabletop titan and improv comedian. And this is my best friend Drew Munhausen.
Hey, that's me. I'm trying to get my perfect nickname that you came up for me here. My name is Drew Munhausen. I am professional media and movie mastermind Drew Munhausen to all of you out there watching.
That sounds really good.
That does sound really good.
And this is episode 2 of Fresh Out the Podcast, our new podcast that we are doing on the Fresh Out the Box channel that talks about movies, video games, comic books, whatever we feel like talking about that week. Board games, tabletop games. You know, they have these the streams every week that you guys should be watching as well. And this is a chance for us to talk about some of those things kind of more off the record, behind the scenes, and other things that we like and are interested in.
Yeah, that's right. Last time we kind of forgot to talk about who we were. We just assumed everybody knew who we were because it's twitch.tv/Johannanon. But maybe you haven't seen our other projects. Every Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, Jahan and I bring you tabletop role-playing games, board games, unboxings, and whatever else comes along our way with indie games. Wednesdays right now, we're playing Savage Worlds Deadlands. We're working with people at Pinnacle Entertainment. They have been great to us. We are also playing The Expanse on Thursday nights by Green Ronin Publishing, and we just got our hands on their brand new, yet to be released book, Ships of the Expanse, which is soon to be printed, except that all the printers are backed up because of COVID. Yada yada. Hardcovers are hard to come by right now because everything is backlogged because of COVID. But the book is done. The PDF is done. The book will soon be released. It's awesome. And then Friday nights is Indie Nights. So Today is the 10th when you're hearing this, but you may be here live. So if you're here live, on the 16th, we'll be playing an indie game at like 1 or 2 p.m. because the developer lives in the UK. The game is about space. It's a horror game. It's a constant reminder. Cool. Yeah, it is. The game is, the way the rules are written, the way the description is written, is it's a constant reminder that when spacefaring becomes more profitable, that companies will skimp on the cost of ships, that they will skimp on the cost of life support, and that basically if Walmart is sending you up, they're not going to put you in a luxury yacht. They're going to put you in the thing that barely runs to go up there and do what you need to do and come back. So the game is a reminder of how close you are to death and how little these corporations care about the spacefaring humans. And we're supposed to be able to build characters and get going in 15 minutes and play this horror type of survival game. So this should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm excited for that one. Yeah, so that's like a good taste of the kind of stuff you can expect from our regular content. And this,
if you're not here live, on the 30th, we'll be playing a different indie game. Tune in. That's Friday from 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. That one's called Neon Lords of the Wastelands.
Very excited, yeah. But yeah, this is our time to talk about all the stuff we never get to talk about on stream, and we get to kind of engage with fans. If you're watching live, you can talk to us and change the podcast for everyone listening. This is the last episode I talked about my Majora's Mask, and there it is. There it is. I 3D printed that myself. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
That is really cool.
I just wanted to show it off. You can't see it on the radio, obviously, but yeah, that was my Majora's Mask. And also, we were talking about indies, indie creators, that kind of thing. I feel like that's a pretty good segue into, let's see here, I got it, Ace Blade. It is a comic book by on Kickstarter now by an indie developer, and it looks really good. I know a bit about it, and to me, it kind of looks like yeah.
There is a trailer on Kickstarter. If you want to pull up the trailer, that's a thing. Can we do that? Is that a thing we can do?
That is a thing I can do.
That might be kind of cool.
Although I typed in Kickstarter on Kickstarter, and so that's a weird thing to do.
Yeah, that doesn't happen that way. I've seen Tony play trailers and stuff on there before, so I think that's a thing that we can do.
Oh yeah, I can play right now.
I'm gonna watch it.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy Danny J. Quick, and I'm here to talk to you about the 5th installment of our superhero comic book series, Ace Blade.
The man
and this
himself.
One is called Villain Season. Okay? I've been writing comic books for about 10 years now, and sometimes it can get a little bit frustrating. And that's where Ace Blade is right now. He's frustrated. He's been doing this for almost a year. Sometimes I think we just aren't where we're supposed to be in the self-publishing journey. Sometimes, you know, we see things online that make us mad. Sometimes we have setbacks. That's where Ace Blade is right now. So at this point, he's been fighting crime in Vegas City for almost a year, and he doesn't feel like he's made the impact that he wants to at this point. Yes, he's done some good things. He can see where he's saved people and he's helped out in the city, but there's still so much to do, and he's just kind of worn down at this point. Ace Blade doesn't have any superpowers, so fighting people like Blackjack and Hammer Hands and Roulette and Gutshot over and over and over again is kind of wearing down on him. And he's starting to get to that edge where he's just like, ugh. Then at the same time, in his real life, he's got to worry about paying the bills. Crime fighting ain't cheap, and as a business owner myself, I can relate to Ace Blade having to deal with paying a bill and also wanting to do the things that he wants to do. So this book is a 36-page special edition, so it's a $10 book, but we also have 4 variant covers, and we might add a 5th
the artwork
down the line.
So
we also
cool.
have hats, t-shirts.
Yeah, I like that stylized, the dark shadows that, I don't know what it's called, I'm not an artist, but the kind of sketched out line, the gradient shadows are cool on the faces anyways.
One of the villains, if you're a fan of Roulette or Blackjack or Hammer Hand,
all right,
you can get a sticker for those guys too. So again, thank you for watching. Please share with your comic book loving friends, and I will see you next time.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that was the man himself, Mr. Quicks. I met him on TikTok. Danny Quick. We are TikTok friends, so that's cool. But so it's an indie comic book. It kind of seems to me like what I said about it was it looks like Batman got hit by an anime stick. And I stand by that. It looks really cool. I love the art style. It's also it's important in this day and age to support Black creators and any developers in general. So I'm happy to use our platform to do so. Very, very happy to do that. Mr. Quicks was in the chat earlier tonight. And last episode, and he was talking with us about like his thoughts on Black Widow, that kind of thing. Very nice guy. He's getting blown up right now by the creator of Black Sands Publishing. If you don't know what that is, it is an app that is currently outdoing the Marvel and DC comic book apps. It's one of the biggest comic apps out there right now, and it is a Black platform for Black creators, for Black comics. Very cool stuff there. You can get a lot of cool content on there for free, and just kind of read their stuff, getting their stuff out there. Their flagship is Black Sands, which is Black people in kind of like an Egyptian setting with crazy powers, and it's very cool. And Ace Blades definitely feels at home on in that vein. I know that they're friends as well.
I decided I figured out what Ace Blade reminds me of.
Do tell.
You said Batman beat with an anime stick. I don't think you're wrong. I think that's a great description. What I see is Deadshot meets Luke Cage.
Okay. It's pretty cool. Yeah, it's not a bad take. Yeah, because it definitely has that on the streets hero style. That's exactly thing, right. Like Daredevil, Luke Cage.
A hero on the sidewalk, and it's exactly right. He's kind of got that the Deadshot vibe where right now he's not a mercenary. Right now he seems like he's a young hero starting his game. And by the time he becomes a full-blown hero to the point where he's on legendary status, I mean, right now he's going from a street fight to presumably Vegas based on that trailer. So he's going from small time to bigger time, and he'll probably go from Vegas to New York. And, from New York, you start going crime syndicates across the world. So he could really become a dead.
Yeah, it's very a lot of potential here.
Mm-hmm. Sure does.
It's just getting started out. You can check it out on Kickstarter. They are fully funded, so if you do back, you will get your rewards. And they have all kinds of things like stickers and that kind of stuff that you can also get to help show your support. And I just wanted to make sure that we talked about Ace Blade. today.
Congratulations, Ace Blade. That's awesome. Exciting when it gets fully funded like that, and that you you're going to get the bang for your buck automatically. That's awesome.
Yeah, I know, because I looked at the history, and I know that some of his projects haven't hit the marks a couple times earlier, but he just kept at it, a lot of perseverance, and he has, I believe, 3 funded projects now, and that's very cool. Congratulations to you, and yeah, I'm glad that we got to show off your stuff on stream. That can also bring us to the next Kickstarter that I wanted to talk about, if you guys are cool with it.
Yes, that's right. You've got Kickstarters.
Yes.
Let me click over to Kickstarter so I can follow along here.
So Vulferian Guilds, I'm very excited for. 26 days to go on that one. And it is an expansion for the game Vulferian, which is a 2-player game from an Italian company, which is, unique to say the least. And it's based on Mythsea, the Mythsea series. And it's a really cool. The original game is designed specifically for 2 players. It's a deck builder, and where you're trying to destroy each other's cities. And it's very fun. You can unleash the power of Vulferian to destroy people's cities. And I'm very excited for this expansion. It looks dope. And you can get the original game through this Kickstarter as well. So I do recommend anyone. This gets my personal recommendation when it comes to board games and the like. This is on my list.
Packaging looks super cool.
I hate to bring the mood down, but what are your thoughts on the high shipping prices being here to stay due to last year's shortages, and now now board games are going to cost more to get from that. And this is a real problem in our community. Yeah. In our community, I say in the board games and the online board game and card game community, now getting things shipped internationally is going to be a huge pain in the ass. But a lot of small tabletops and a lot of small zines come out of the U.S., so that market won't be as hurt as, say, a small independent Italian card game company that has to ship overseas fees. That is going to really fucking hurt them if they don't get the same kind of support.
Yes. So
what are your thoughts on that?
I don't know about either of you, but this is my addiction. I back a lot of Kickstarters. First Kickstarter I ever backed was Nemesis by Awaken Realms. And I got such a high quality return on my money. I keep doing it. I'm very seldom disappointed. It's a cool way for people to get things funded, and you find the fans and you get their money and you make your thing. It's cool. But yeah, so that's a big problem in the community right now. I believe that friend of the show, Tony Vacinda, over at Plus One EXP, was talking about this very issue on Twitter the other day. The high shipping prices do seem like they're here to stay, and it's really going to affect a lot of these games. I know that a lot of them are going to be hurt with their bottom line coming up. I am currently waiting on like 12 games. I'm not exaggerating either. I have thousands of dollars of board games on a boat somewhere. And one day I'll get them, but I don't. I haven't been complaining to the companies. I understand.
Whichever Tom Hanks is on the Castaway Island that gets your board games, it's gonna be so fucking stoked.
I'm gonna get it 20 years from now, unopened.
He's going to bring it to you all opened in 30 years. He's going to have a beard all the way down to his waist. He's going to be all tanned and crinkled. He's going to apologize and return your games. He's going to thank you for how much they meant to him. He's going to become our new best friend.
Yeah,
and it does say it is for 1 to 4 players, so he would be able to play it by himself. Is that right?
Yeah, this game does have solo.
Other people.
He could also play it with Wilson.
Solo modes have gained a lot of popularity lately. Given the pandemic, people wanted more single-player games so that they could play by themselves because, everyone was stuck at home.
And that has bled over into the tabletop game community, and there are literally DM-less games where the book plays your adventure for you. You just make decisions and follow along, and there's also, like, 2 players where it's, you and a friend can play without a GM, and you both play out of a book together at the same time. So games have come a long way. Just the pandemic was really a creative spark.
It really was.
If these games are single player appropriate, can we officially say they get the Castaway seal of approval, and that can be the terminology moving
Look,
forward?
man.
Absolutely.
I have never been Castaway, so I'm not going to tread over the line of what gets a Castaway seal of approval.
I think the solution is for these people to send me board games and then send me to a desert island and film it. And I think that could be a good Amazon series. Johanna not stuck alone. I don't know.
Let's make our own Kickstarter for that.
There you go. I'll do it. I'll do it. I promise.
We could shoot a pilot in my backyard and pretend you're Castaway in the woods.
I'm just playing board games outside, and I'm really hungry.
We just keep shooting it from different angles to make it look like you're out in the woods.
I roll the dice, and then
find your own food, cook over a fire.
I roll the dice. I jump over the board because I see a squirrel, and I just start eating it raw.
Yeah, I think we should shoot this pilot, if nothing else, just for comedic value.
And then the other Kickstarter that I would like to talk... Well, there's two. Board game-wise, it is another expansion for another game that I also backed on Kickstarter that was fantastic. It's called Villagers, and it is a very fun board game. I believe also has a single-player mode. And right now, they have the Kickstarter for Shifting Seasons, an expansion for Villagers. Villagers is one of my favorite card games. It's really good. And the story is like you're trying to rebuild your village after the Black Plagues ravaged the world. So it's also topical. And it's affordable. This company, they Sinister Fish, they make... it's not a very big box. You get high-quality components. And it's affordable. It's a good price, good value. And I've backed this one personally myself as well.
So it looks like the game is, to me, not knowing anything as much about board games as you, it looks like they have high quality cards. It looks like they have high quality like cardboard cutouts, and everything's really colorful. So you're not paying for a bunch of miniatures, which is why they're able to streamline their price a little bit.
A lot of their pieces are wood, and I actually did the wood carver pledge on the last one and got all wooden money tokens, which I do not regret at all. I apologize for nothing.
You were the board game guru here, and so for me, as somebody who's ignorant to this side of board games and the design and the Kickstarters and everything, I think that I was just ignorant to the fact that there's such a seems to be a pretty bustling community of those that'll back these games, seeing these board games with goals of $35,000 that have made hundreds of thousands of dollars from backers. I think that's just really impressive to see. I think that's a bit of culture that I didn't realize as somebody who's ignorant to that side, to the board game side, to see that that's out there. I think that's really cool.
Yes. So I have an interesting follow-up question, Drew. Is there a community like that for indie films? Are there websites where people have trailers for shit that they want to get made, like, 12-minute pilots where they're looking for backer money? Is that a thing?
That's a good question. I mean, I'm sure there's fan campaigns for films.
I feel like that's what happened with that with Kung Fury. It was backed.
Yes,
on
I think that's how that. Yeah, it was crowdfunded. I actually backed Onyx the Fortuitous and the Talisman of Lost Souls. And he's a meme come to life that became famous, and he's making this movie. And it has very strong, Ernest Does Christmas vibes. And it looks really cool. I'm excited. My name's going to be in the credits because I paid enough. So they are definitely doing it. It's definitely a thing. Whether or not it's prevalent.
With the film side, they manage, some people will manage to get their movies funded, whether by tiny studios or by Snyder Cut, Justice League hive of people that are out there, that are very outspoken about the things that they want. And then, sometimes they are heard and they get what they want, which is pretty fascinating to see. Not to get into that too much with the Snyder Cut and Justice League.
I do not want to talk about it.
I'm
so mad.
I like when fans are heard and they get to see what they want to see. And honorable shout out to the Sonic movie that had the shitty looking Sonic, and then they took it back and redesigned it and re-released it, and it showed to be a huge fucking hit, man. That movie was a huge hit with kids.
It was
they're
fine,
gonna make a Sonic 2. It wasn't for me. I wasn't the target demographic, and I thought it was a piece of crap, but it was for kids, and it was a fine kids movie.
The original
Fun.
The original model looked like the kid from Jumanji after he got turned into a half ape. That's
Man,
what
that
it looked like
first-
to me.
That first Sonic looked bad. And,
Looked bad.
you know, and the studio, listen, that's my whole point, is this social media age, if you want the studio to hear you, say something. Tweet something. It'll take like 30 seconds of your time, and before you know it, 200,000 people might have liked your tweet that Sonic looks like shit and they need to take it back to the drawing board. Because that's what happened, man. Public opinion crapped all over that.
Oh, that's cool. This Kickstarter has Board Games in a Minute doing a playthrough, and she is also one of my mutuals on TikTok. That's funny.
Other thing I'll say is, I agree. Tweet out the things that you want. Tag those people. If you're being kind and respectful and wanting the things that you want. I don't necessarily think you should just berate them for not making the thing that you want. But that being said, also, if there's something that you like, tweet at the person and just tell them that you liked their thing.
It doesn't all have to be
Good
negative.
thing to do.
I did that with Stuber, and the writer of Stuber and I are now friends on Twitter, and we have had many exchanges. In fact, I gave him some recipes to how to make my barbecue ribs during the 2020 election. He was like, I can't fucking focus. Somebody tell me some good news. And so I walked him through how to make barbecue ribs on Twitter.
That's pretty funny.
How have I not heard that story?
That's a good
incredible.
story.
Yeah, man, it's good news. So yeah, that guy and I are, mutual friends at best, right? I don't think I don't think he'd hang out with me in real life, but you never know.
You never know.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah, so tweet people. That's Drew's point. Tweet people. Tell them they did good work. I love Stuber. That's why I tweeted him. That's why I followed him. And now we get along. We get along pretty decently.
And right before we move off of Kickstarter, unless you guys want to add anything, but we have one last one. We did a read through of these rules live last night. So you can go find that on our YouTube channel. We're talking about Defiant, and we read through the rules. We gave our opinions. It's from a couple, a married couple in Poland. They have their own independent. It's an indie game. Once again, we love shouting out indie creators. If you are one, reach out to us. But they were kind enough to give me their core rulebook, and we loved what we saw. We were very surprised. They mentioned City of Mist in their book, which is cool. A friend of the show, creator of City of Mist, Amit Moshe, messaged them on Twitter after we talked about it. It was pretty cool. And it's very much City of Mist meets World of Darkness, where you're playing these angels, demons, Leviathan-like people that are trying to stay alive in a post-apocalyptic world in these sanctuary cities. And it's very cool. It has some mature themes, and they talk, but the book itself talks about inclusivity, lines and veils, which are all very big in the TTRPG community to make sure people feel accepted. And that's very cool. I feel like that gives them huge points, especially in the post-TSR era. I feel like we all kind of need to double down. I will go as far to say everyone's welcome at my table. We don't discriminate here for Out of the Box. We love you. Trans women are women. All those good things. I can't believe what happened with TSR. But Defiant goes ahead and they put all that stuff in their book about inclusivity at the table and why it's important.
I would say for someone who hasn't played Vampire and someone who hasn't played City of Mist, what this game is you and your friends are going to sit down at a table. There are cards that have the different backgrounds, like whether you're a fallen angel or whether you're a risen demon. But basically, the apocalypse is happening. It already happened. And you are defiant of the rules. You are not apocalypsing the world. You're not doing it. You are instead choosing to live a mortal life as a fallen angel, not as a mortal, not as a human, as an angel or a demon. And so you have these abilities that are innate. So you'll sit down at the table with your friends, you'll get your different backgrounds, you will figure out what part of town you lord over and who your vassals are that answer to you and how many vassals you have. You'll figure out how many buildings you own and what those buildings are. You'll give those buildings descriptors. You will be given how the peril your kingdom is in will be on a card randomly. So you'll have all these cards that you're given to really help you get started with your adventure, including a spouse, because it's very Kingdoms. It's very Game of Thrones-esque. And it's designed in the book like a TV show.
You can have like a reluctant spouse, like where you didn't want to get married, but you had to for like political reasons. You can have like, I don't know, all kinds of stuff. If you have played World of Darkness,
it's not your classic sit down at the table D&D experience where you make a character and you make a background and all that. This one is, here you draw these cards, let's get started. It's super narrative, and you know, if you don't like your wife in the game and it's a reluctant marriage and she's a bad guy who's plotting against you, that's not just something like, I don't want my character to be married. That's a whole storyline. That's a whole 3-season plot line, you know, of the intrigue and the backstabbing and the plotting. But there's a lot of great narrative there. So it's a super cool game. And one of my biggest regrets is that it's not very accessible to a one-shot. It really seems like you would best be suited to play that game out over maybe 12 sessions or so.
I think I actually could make it work for a one shot, but it's definitely suited for episodic play. Definitely, like they even say that in the book. But yeah, this Kickstarter has hit like 5 times its backer goal already. 861 backers, 4 days to go. So if you're interested in TTRPGs at all, go ahead, give it a check out. Give them some support. Help indie creators create.
Hey, it just got some money, so hooray! You know, that's funny. We were talking about it last night, and while we were reading it, it got money, and they were talking about it today, and it got money. I'm not saying we're doing it, because it obviously makes money when we're not looking also, but it does make me feel good.
It does, like, yeah. Every time we talk about it, it makes money.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so that's all I had to say about Kickstarter. I love Kickstarter, I love GameFound, and I love crowdfunding. So expect more of that from these podcasts in the future.
Do we want to talk about, I don't think it's on Kickstarter yet. I know it's not on Kickstarter yet. Do we want to talk about Streets of Peril at all, or is it still too early to talk about
It's probably too early. But there is a game we're playtesting, fresh out the box is playtesting, Streets of Peril, which is an indie 3D6 system that it's very cool. It's very it reminds me of Darkest Dungeon in the setting. I really like the setting, and the gameplay so far has been very fun. And we're actually helping change the rules to that game. So definitely look forward to hearing about that in the future.
Yes, they do have a Twitter. The Twitter is straight up Streets of Peril. So their game is out there. They're putting some of their art out there, talking about their game design, looking for some more play testers if you're interested and you want to give some feedback on that game. If you are a gameplay tester, you want to be a gameplay tester, reach out to Kyle over there at Streets of Peril.
Tell him Fresh Out the Box sent you. But yeah, moving on.
Y'all want to know the only thing that I've ever kickstarted? Do you want to know?
Desperately.
There's one project ever that I have given money to on Kickstarter, and it was a video game.
Okay.
And it was Yooka-Laylee.
Oh yeah,
remember?
Yeah, Yooka-Laylee's Kickstarter. I
gave them my money because I wanted more Banjo-Kazooie, and it was fine.
Yeah,
that's all I got.
Did you get more Banjo-Kazooie?
I got Banjo-Kazooie in the form of Yooka and Laylee, which are a bat and chameleon dude.
But is that game like Banjo-Kazooie is all hell?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Same creators.
I know it was the same team. I didn't know if they delivered on their promise to be Banjo-Kazooie. Because the way you said it was fine. Was like it was a letdown. But
just wasn't
like Banjo-Kazooie was fine.
It can never be Banjo-Kazooie.
What they promised for sure. They gave what they promised, but it's just, I don't know if it's that Banjo and Kazooie just worked better in the mid '90s when I played it originally, or
Ding, ding, ding.
or if
Yeah.
the game maybe wasn't that good. I don't.
I've played Banjo-Kazooie recently, and it's still fun, for sure.
Mhm.
Actually, Jenny backed Ukulele on Kickstarter as well. And speaking, this actually reminds me, because I just mentioned Darkest Dungeon a second ago. That game was funded on Kickstarter. And I have a few,
interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was a big deal. It was a big deal. And it became this cult classic. And they recently, announced Darkest Dungeon 2. And I do not know if they're going to be kickstarting it. They might just straight produce it, because that game was very successful. I'm actually awaiting a board game version of Darkest Dungeon that cost me about $500 on Kickstarter. Yeah, I'm very excited for that one. Expect to see that unboxing on Fresh Out the Box for sure. But yeah, no, I love Kickstarter. So before, in the last episode, we were discussing zombie stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know about you guys. I don't know where you stand on zombies. I loved zombies before, like, that incredible period of time where it was everything, where everything was zombies. And when that happened, a lot of people got tired of it. I ate it up. I consumed it. I loved every single zombie thing. So many cool zombie things out right now.
Burned out of zombies after... I liked Left 4 Dead, and I liked Dead Rising, and I liked Dawn of Day of the Dead, where they're in the mall?
That was Dawn of the Dead.
That's Dawn
of the Dead. I like Dawn of the Dead, but after that, those were the three I liked, and I remember after that, I did not like Left 4 Dead 2 anymore. I was fucking sick of zombies. I did not like any of the Dead Rising follow-ups. I was fucking sick of zombies. I didn't like any of the zombie movies that came out after that. I'm starting to go back now. I'm starting to be able to enjoy zombies again a little bit. But yeah, I was totally burned out. I know exactly what era you're talking about.
Not know Jahan was a zombie head. This is something that I'm learning today.
Yeah,
so,
I love zombies.
About Rob Zombie. Do you like Rob Zombie?
Less than you would expect, actually.
That's actually a really good answer, because Rob Zombie has 3 songs that fucking rock, and then like 100 that are really unlistenably bad.
Yeah, I mean, he's good. I like his stuff. His movies, though, I have mixed feelings about. I really like the original. His first Halloween remake I really liked. The second one I did not like. And then, like, House of a Thousand Corpses, torture porn is fine and all. And people could say it's got, like, artistry. I don't know. But it's just not that great. I liked that better than The Devil's Rejects, though, I believe.
I like Devil's Rejects.
I believe Rob Zombie is doing a Monsters either remake or
yes.
I'm not sure if it's a film or a show, but yes. I know he's tackling the Monsters next, and he seems to be extremely passionate about it, and it's actually kind of like wholesome the way that he's been posting about it.
It might be good. Might be good. I don't have a problem with him, and I do sometimes enjoy his work.
He puts on a hell of a live show. One of the best concerts I've ever been to in my entire life was a Rob Zombie show. I absolutely loved that show. It was a pretty small venue, and I wound up in the pit at the time, and I was young, and it was a good mosh pit, too.
I've only seen him live once. It was at, I believe, Mayhem Festival at the Woodlands Pavilion, and he was old, and I think they were recording it, so he did like 10 costume changes, and it was hot, and he's old, and he was tired, and like you could tell it wasn't very good.
When I saw that,
I did not see him at his best.
Was it with Bayou Theater now? I think it was Verizon at the time. the one in downtown Houston that's indoor and air conditioned. So there were not those same issues. He was younger and it was air conditioned.
Bro, everybody at Mayhem Fest that year, like, 'cause some of them were like from like the Netherlands and stuff, and they were like, "It's so hot. How are you guys moving? We're dying," because we were going nuts in the pit, man. They had a mosh pit on a side stage in a parking lot on concrete. A lot of blood. There was a lot of blood. Some guy spit blood in my face. That was cool. Good times. I would Mayhem Fest again for sure. But yeah, so Rob Zombie. Yeah, I don't hate him. Take him or leave him.
Sorry to derail the conversation from just regular zombies and not the one who is zombie in name only.
I will watch Rob Zombie's new show, which I think was an important thing to come out of that. I think that's an important new relevant topic. So thank you for being able to figure that out for us. The Monsters show, it'll probably be comedic, right? It'll probably have some. It'll have to be. It can't just be another murder porn, like you said. So I look forward to it with that aesthetic, with what he's got. It could be a lot of fun. See him step out of his comfort zone of what he's been doing so far.
But yeah, to answer what you're talking about earlier, yeah, I'm a zombie head. I love zombies. I love everything zombie. And right now, relevantly, there are right now Black Summer Season 2 just came out on Netflix, and also they have a new computer generated Resident Evil on Netflix as well that looks very good, and I have not yet been able to watch.
I just saw that today.
Is it out?
It's out. Yeah, it's out.
Is it out now?
Yeah, it released like a couple days
ago. Is it a series or a movie?
I think it's a series.
Okay.
Oh, I thought it was a movie.
Don't quote me on that. I have the internet, so let's find this out. But so that one looks very exciting. I love Resident Evil. I got in. My first Resident Evil game, I think, was actually 5. And I have since gone back and played the older ones. 4 is amazing. I love 4. And it's just, Infinite Darkness, right? Yes.
Yeah, it's a series.
Yeah, it's a series. Yeah. Resident Evil Infinite Darkness. New series. Looks really good. And it looks like, what is that, Leon Kennedy? It looks like fire. And I recently played the re-release, the remaster of Resident Evil 2, which is really cool. I've always wanted to play in Raccoon City. That was exciting. I'm excited to watch this Netflix show, for sure.
I actually had been catching up on some video game backlog during the pandemic, and I did tackle the Resident Evil 2 remake, and it was very good. And I played the Resident Evil 3 remake, which is also actually pretty good. I probably like 2 a little bit better. 3 is still also really solid. And then I did play Resident Evil Village, the 8th entry that just came out.
Cool. It was good.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
I hear good things.
It had some of the spookies in it, and sometimes I get spooked by the spookies, but it was very fun.
So much of Rule 32 coming out of that one, with the giant hot lady, just every cosplayer and their whole family dressing up like her. Pretty cool, actually. It looks good. But
yep.
Yeah, no, that game looks tight. I haven't played it yet. I want to. But there are a lot of other zombie games coming out too. Recently, re-release of Zombies Ate My Neighbors and Ghoul Patrol. I believe it's like a double pack. And those are originally LucasArts Studios games. But since Disney acquired LucasArts Game Studio, they kind of dissolved it. And I looked it up. Disney Interactive is actually releasing this re-release of 2 of my favorite all-time games as a kid.
So they did release a couple last summer, I guess, as sort of a test drive. I don't remember what they both were, but one was Full Throttle for sure. And I played it for about 3 or 4 hours. And it's awful, and I wonder how we played games like that when we were kids. What an actual piece of shit.
So Zombies Ate My Neighbors and Ghoul Patrol, they actually hold up. They're very fun. And So that was Disney Interactive. I believe Full Throttle was actually done by another studio. Someone else acquired the rights. What is it? Ultrafine Studio, something like that.
It's Double Fine.
Double
Fine. Which is now owned. They're actually part of the Microsoft family now.
And it's not like they made the game, you know. They just re-released it. They just touched it, whatever. So it's not their.
That explains why those games are on Game Pass. That Microsoft owns it, because Day of the Tentacle, Full Throttle, Grim and Fandango or whatever, all those old classic LucasArts games re-releasing on Xbox Game Pass, and now Zombies Ate My Neighbors and Ghoul Patrol releasing on Switch and a bunch of other consoles. So it's not on Game Pass, but I'm definitely going to pick it up because, my God, I love those games so much.
Just to age us, I have memories of playing Zombies Ate My Neighbors back on Sega Channel. If you remember Sega Channel back in the day,
I remember Sega Channel.
That's where I played Zombies Ate My Neighbors.
I had a Super Nintendo, and that's where I played it.
So there was a Nintendo in my bedroom, and the Super Nintendo was in Thomas's room because he was older. But then I got older. Well, not older than him, obviously. That's not how age works. So the next system was a Sega Genesis. So it got to be in my room because he already had the new system, so I got the new system. So I had Sega Channel in my bedroom when I was in like first or second grade.
That's awesome.
I knew how spoiled I was at the time. I got every single one of my parents' fucking dollars worth out of Sega Channel. I played everything. I played the My Little Pony games where you collected balloons. I played the Winnie the Pooh adventure games. I played Bonanza Brothers. I played like Sarge's Heroes or whatever that battle game was, the turn-based fighting game. Man, I played it all. It was on there. It was getting played. And that's why I love Game Pass Ultimate. Best deal in gaming. I'll say it every
playing all those games. Meanwhile, on my Sega Genesis or Sega Channel, occasionally Zombies Ate My Neighbors, but I played a lot of Clax. I don't just look up Clax if you get a chance. It is a Tetris style brick stacking game where you match the colors to get rid of them. Klax, I believe, is how it's spelled. Clax.
I don't even know. Like, you didn't even tell us how to spell it, but I knew how to spell it. I spelled it right. I already Googled or binged it. Now, Clax, common spelling, Klax, obviously.
Just check out Clax. Not to be, I believe that's how it's spelled. Not to be confused with the airport.
We had
the TV station in LA.
We had the X-Men arcade game. We had the Ninja Turtles side-scrolling beat 'em up. We had like Sonic and Knuckles with the Game Shark that you could plug your into the top. Boom! Remember the old Game Sharks?
Oh
yeah. Oh yeah.
My big games. I was Super Nintendo. My big ones were Zombies Ate My Neighbors, Ghoul Patrol, Super Mario, and the 7 Stars, Mario RPG. That game was so good. It's still good. That game holds up. Off the top of my head, that's what I remember. Oh no, I feel like there's definitely more. But yeah, I loved those games growing up. I didn't have Sega Channel. Sega Channel sounds like it was pretty dope.
Mm-hmm.
There was this dope game where you played as Grover and he was a waiter, and that game ruled.
You are not kidding. That game did rule. And I'm looking at Zombies Ate My Neighbors. I played the crap out of that game. It was co-op. Thomas and I used to play that game together.
It is co-op. It's couch co-op. They have no online play, which is disappointing. But hey, what are you going to do? Still couch co-op. Ghoul Patrol, same way. Ghoul Patrol is pretty cool. I love those games. You get to fight all kinds of monsters, not just zombies. Everything and anything. Animated dolls, werewolves. You get to become werewolves. One of the first like major bosses is like a giant 3-story like baby, which is pretty fun. I don't know. I love when you get to the aliens part, actually.
Those are coming out. When are those coming out? Are they already out?
They're out. Those are out.
Okay.
And
I was going to say. Go ahead.
So real quick, while we're still on Game Pass and zombies, Back 4 Blood.
Right.
The spiritual successor to Left 4 Dead. I am so excited. 4-player co-op, zombie, shoot 'em up, everything I've ever wanted. I'm so excited. and that's going to be day
Looks fun.
one Game Pass.
And they pushed
Looks
it back
very fun.
and pushed it back. I think it was supposed to come out in March, and then it was supposed to come out in maybe June, and now it's been pushed back for an October release. You'll get no complaints out of me. Whenever a studio wants to push their game back to put some polish on it, no problem.
Yeah, don't
And
release.
especially when you're releasing Back 4 Blood for free day one on Game Pass, and it's an October release just in time for Halloween. Couldn't be any better, man. I got no complaints. I think that's going to be great timing, and I'll totally be vibing and in the mood to play it at the time.
Exactly. I'm so excited. So excited. Before that, though, actually, there's another game, a 3-player squad shooter called Aliens Fireteam that's coming out. That was a surprise. I did not know that was coming out. And that's coming out before Back 4 Blood, and I'll probably be buying that game.
I didn't watch the trailer for it, but I assume it's got some kind of Deep Rock Galactic type of vibe.
Maybe. I don't know. It seems like it has more of a horror, like...
Well, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you're running around just tearing down squads of xenomorphs, or are you running away the whole time?
I think you're tearing down squads of xenomorphs.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, too.
That sounds exciting to me.
That's one I haven't been following too closely.
Me
I
neither.
feel like the Alien games, like specifically the movie spin-off Alien games, have been very hit and miss. I believe it was Alien Isolation was the one that came out a few years ago that actually was kind of good, where you were hiding from the alien.
I hear good things.
Although it
about
was
that.
way too long. It was way too long of a game. But I feel like some of the other like first-person shooter, they've just been pretty hit and miss. So I'll be interested to see if this one is a change of pace and with the qualities. I'll be checking out for reviews on that one. I don't know if I'm gonna.
Yeah, two things about that. First off, Alien Isolation, also free on Game Pass. And then Fireteam actually looks like they're going to be getting things back on track. It looks like it's going to be good.
I'm worried that Fireteam is going to be like Second Extinction. And if that's the case, it's not going to be worth a full price game.
Fair enough. Yeah, but Second Extinction is a preview, though.
It is, but I'll reserve my judgment until it comes out, because that's what I expect it to be the most like, is Second Extinction.
Okay. Yeah, I'd be upset if that were the case.
Yes, same. I think it's a really cool premise, and I'm excited. We'll keep our eyes on it. But I'm not sure if that's a day one must pick up for me until I know that it's not going to be a letdown.
I will probably grab that one for sure, actually.
Well, I'll wait a few days and let you tell me if it's terrible
Yeah,
or
I'll
not.
be the guinea pig.
Speaking of games coming out that are Orcs Must Die 3.
Oh my god!
It's already out on Stadia. It's been out for Stadia for almost a year, but Stadia is nothing and nobody has it. So it comes to Steam at the end of the month, and also Xbox and I think PlayStation. It's cross-play from Xbox to PC, but probably only if you pick it up in the Microsoft Store, because that's how usually that stuff works. Usually if you buy it in Steam or in the Epic Store, you can't cross-play with Xbox people. You have to buy it through the Microsoft Store on your computer. It sort of works in an Xbox emulator type of way, from what I understand.
Yeah, so Orcs Must Die, I'm a huge fan since the first game.
I think we're picking it up for PC is my point.
Yeah, probably for PC. I'm definitely very excited for it. It looks like it. I mean, it's definitely co-op. I don't think it's going to have 3-player co-op. It'd be really cool if it did. But, oh my god, all the different traps and stuff they're releasing, all the things they're announcing. I still play Orcs Must Die 2 to this day.
I haven't played any of the Orcs Must Die, and it's only because I never had a decent computer. But I really like the concept. Drew, do you know how Orcs Must Die plays? You know what the game is like at all?
Don't. I was watching the trailer in the window here a little bit, but no, I'm not familiar.
So it's co-op, and I think it used to be 3 or 2, or you can play by yourself.
So
but it's like a big it's a tower defense game where it's a grid, and you can build traps on the grid and towers and walls, and you play as heroes that have abilities. And so you set up your traps, and orcs attack, and then you get money, and you level up, and you make more traps, and yada yada go. But turn that up times 10, crank it all the way up. Third person action puzzle tower defense skill based hero. It just seems like such a great time. And it's not one of those games that comes out at $60. I think it's a $30 game.
Yeah, I think it's a $30 game. Yeah, so the first one, single player, second one, co-op. Third one's definitely at least co-op. And yeah, it is a third-person action game and where you can lay traps. Actually, when Fortnite was first released, it was actually this style of game. It was a build a base, build traps, defend against zombies game back in the day before the battle royale mode came out. And so this game, I mean, I've been so excited for this game for years. It is one of my favorite franchises. And you can put traps down, watch orcs die. They're trying to escape into the mortal realm, so you have to protect your rifts. And if so many get out, you lose, kind of thing. And yeah, fun co-op action, just great game all around.
That sounds super fun.
I'm thinking if I pick it up through the Microsoft Store, I'll be able to play it on my Xbox and my computer and be able to cross-play with anybody who gets it. So that's probably my bet.
When does that come out again?
I think it's the 20-somethingth of this month.
End of the
right
month,
at the,
yeah.
right at the end of the month. Which I think it comes out maybe the 22nd, and then the Ascent comes out the 28th. The Ascent, I think we talked about during the first episode of this podcast. It's a Game Pass game. It's a cyberpunk game. It's a shooter game. It's an RPG. We're interested. It's flagged. We've got it pre-installed. We're probably going to play it together.
Yeah, I'm very excited. Very, 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 very excited. Oh my god. So excited.
So, talking about favorite games, if y'all don't mind, I'm going to switch gears here because I actually, if y'all remember, back in mid-May, they released the Mass Effect Legendary Edition, which came with all three of the original Mass Effect games, not the newest Mass Effect Andromeda. But I had only played the first Mass Effect back when it first came out. I think back in 2007 is when it came out. I remember being in my dorm room in college playing that game. So to age us there. And then the second one came out, and I played it, I think, a couple times. I played the third one when it released, but I only played it that one time. So I was eager to jump back into the Legendary Edition. Knowing myself, I didn't know if I was going to play through all three games. I figured like I'd play the first one and maybe some of the second and then lose interest. But I, to my own surprise, actually ended up playing through and beating all three Mass Effect games here in about the past month and a half. And boy, those games are super fun and still hold up. They really do play out like a film trilogy. The first one does such an amazing job of setting up all of the lore and some great characters and this cool world, and I think it's the most interesting from a story standpoint. The second one kind of beefs up the action, and it's really just a series of missions that deal with your teammates and the loyalty missions. If you've played those games and you're familiar, you're getting the loyalty of all your different squad mates so that at the end you can do a big suicide mission, and based on the loyalty of your squad determines if they end up living through that big suicide mission or not. So I think that's an interesting concept. The third game just becomes this huge all-out universal war uniting all of the different alien races fight a threat that threatens the destruction of the entire universe, basically. And I think that some of it kind of almost crumbles under its own weight for a video game. It's just such high stakes, but it's still really fun. But man, I really enjoyed my time with the first one. I enjoyed my time with all three of them. I think the first one was the most memorable for me. But yeah, if you, like me, are a fan of the Mass Effect games, you really can't go wrong with picking up the Legendary Edition for $60 that gives you all three games that have been tweaked and updated a little bit so that they really all flow from one to the next. They don't feel all that different from each other when you're playing. And for anybody who's wondering, because this is what people really care about when it comes to the Mass Effect games, I played as a male shepherd. In the first game, I kissed Liara, and she is a blue lady alien. And
She's
then in the second game,
Sorry.
in the second. In the second game, I decided to go. I turned my bad boy self on, and I kissed Jack, who's the biotic bad girl with tattoos all over.
Yes, she is. That's the one. I know who she is.
In the third game, it was, I had the option between rekindling my love with Liara from the first game, or you can, hook back up with Jack again. I did the wrong thing and tried to do both simultaneously. Liara really did not like that, and so I ended up being with Jack in the end. So I know that's the stuff. That's the stuff that people really care about. So I just had to get that out there.
That's when your video game turns right into a telenovela and it goes off the chain.
Yeah,
totally.
I only really ever played the first one, so I also am looking forward to getting the Legendary Edition.
I loved the Mass Effect series. I was a huge Mass Effect head. I've played them all, including Andromeda, and what Drew described about the first Mass Effect and how it sets this stage to be played in this awesome sandbox, this great lore and all these races. When Andromeda starts, the humans have to ditch the galaxy because it's too late. So everything gets wiped away, and you start in a new galaxy with none of that shit anymore. None of the aliens, none of the Citadel, none of the lore. They just scrap it, and they're like,
people hated Andromeda.
Andromeda wasn't awful, but that was the biggest crime it committed. Was there was no reason to trash your fantastic fucking universe. What are you doing? And
it's
the Mass Effect is that would be like if the episode 1 of Star Wars was like, yeah, no, this universe is in a different universe. We'll get to the Star Wars universe at the end of the prequel. Then
Star Wars kind of does a lot of stuff.
But I was gonna say, I love Mass Effect games, and they literally get worse in the order that they're released. 1 is the best, 2 is a little bit worse, 3 is a little bit worse, and Andromeda is worse. That being said, 1, 2, and 3 are all very, very good games. They're like 8s. They're 8s and 9s.
They kind of kill your whole hatred of re-release because they are not full price.
Yeah, that's right. It's 3 for 1, and it's a re-release. So I didn't buy it because I'm not going to buy a re-release, but I can't talk too much shit about it. The thing I remember about Mass Effect 1, and I asked Drew when he was replaying it, was one of the mechanics was customizable bullets. You could custom craft your bullets at a high level, and if you did, you could have ice bullets or fire bullets or acid bullets, and you'd walk into a room with a machine gun, and everyone would just vanish. They would cease to exist. They would explode into flame, or they would immediately freeze and crumble, and you were very strong if you did bullet crafting. But they took bullet crafting out of 2, they didn't bring it back for 3, it definitely didn't make it back into Andromeda. But that still sticks out as such a cool game mechanic to me from 1. But the Mako driving scenes in 1 were really bad and boring.
They're still boring in the new one, but I think they've improved the controls a little bit to make it just more manageable. And then from the bullet crafting standpoint, I don't believe you can craft bullets in it, but you do pick up mods for your weapons, and depending on the weapon, you get a certain amount of mod slots, so you can change it to have I can't remember what it's properly called in the game, but you might have bullets that do acid damage, or you have bullets that do fire damage based on the mods, and you can get stronger mods to do that. But you do start, if I had a pistol with the acid mods on it, you just go through and light people up and they're melting or disintegrating, and it's pretty cool. The other thing I'll say about those games I don't want to harp on it too long, but there really is added benefit to playing through the trilogy like this, one right into the other, because when you play those games years apart, as I did when they came out, you lose sight of a lot of those small side characters that you come across on missions, and so many of those end up appearing consistently through the later games. Like a character that you met as helped you along one small quest in the first game shows up in a completely unexpected role in the second game, and they'll be like, hey, remember when you helped me years ago, thanks for doing that. And you're like, oh, that's cool, I remember them. Whereas if you're playing those games 2 years apart, you're like, I probably helped that person, but I don't remember, what the stakes were or anything. So I'd say that's another added benefit to playing them all back to
Very
back
true,
to back
very
in the way
true.
that I did. I think it took me about, honestly, for each game, probably about 30 to 35 hours per
That's right.
game me as a completionist for each of them. So like probably about 100 hours to play through all 3 games pretty thoroughly.
Yeah, I definitely want to pick that one up.
Yeah. So anyway, I'll toss it over to Gary to talk about the other game on your list, and then I think that what we will do is I had mentioned that we would talk about Loki. I'll probably save that for the next episode because once we record next, the Loki series will have ended. So maybe we
Yes.
can just do a full-on spoiler discussion of the series as a whole instead of talking about it now. But we can talk about the last couple things on our list and then end with a spoiler discussion of Black Widow, if that sounds good.
Absolutely,
to
sounds good to
you
me.
guys.
I was just going to run through that, what have we been playing? And I've gotten through most of what we've been playing. And there's some old titles, too, that I won't drag you guys through. But Chivalry 2 is one of the most recent pickups that Jahan and I have made that we spent real
So
hard-earned
much fun.
And it is a warning for graphic violence, of course. But besides that, it's a really fun game. It's first person. It's the game we always wanted as a kid. It's instead of guns, instead of the golden gun and the P90, it's swords and shields and spears and bows and arrows and javelins, and it's medieval war. And it's a clash, and it's dirty and it's violent. You get your arms cut off. You can cut off people's heads. You can pick up anything on the battlefield. So you can cut off somebody's head and then pick it up and then throw it at somebody. You can throw any weapon you have by slamming both your bumpers at the same time.
A lot of the maps have interactable, whether traps or siege weapons as well. Very cool.
Ballista and like battering rams to bust down castle doors. So some of the maps are just team deathmatch. There's 2 of them that are team deathmatch, and they're small arena maps. You just fight and die, and that's it. Most of the maps are kind of a moving objective sort of situation. Like your team spawns on the beach and the other team spawns outside the castle, and they try to stop you from pushing your siege weapons up the beach. Once you do that, you bust down the castle wall. They spawn inside and try to keep you from busting down into the castle.
It's like tiered objectives. You hit one, you go to the next. You get more time after you complete each one. I believe.
So you'll use ramps to take towers, you'll use ramps to get into the castle, then you'll have to kill their lord, and a player will end up spawning as like a stronger NPC version of a lord in the castle. And so it's just this whole thing that really gives you this different type of experience versus a Call of Duty or another type of first-person Halo or something like that. This is something that feels really different for the first time.
It's great stress relief too, because chopping someone in half is very therapeutic. I feel after you've had a long day.
I've had some anxiety playing that game and had to step away because it is a little violent, and there is trigger warning for extreme violence. But other than that, they're looking at making matchmaking systems so that PC and Xbox people can play together cross-platform. Right now, there is cross-platform play, but not cross-party play. So they're going to add server functionality for Xbox users so we can find what server our PC friends are in and play together. So that's a positive step. They're looking at adding some kind of ranked system for the game and smaller squad-based matchmaking instead of just 32 or 64 players, which is what it is right now. So we're looking forward to smaller combats and ranked and better matchmaking. And I think that's my last note for Chivalry.
Yeah, I like it a lot too. It's not even full price, so go ahead and check it out. It's definitely worth the $40.
Games I'm going to recommend you are not going to be full price games if I can avoid it. I try to offer you some gaming on a budget or things that are on Game Pass, things you can look out for to help your wallet, and things you can play with your friends.
That's what we should call it. Fresh out the Poorcast. Yeah, because we're broke. We are broke. So if you're broke and you're a gamer, we'll help you.
We put the box in Fresh Out the Box because Jahan and I live in a box under a bridge together.
Yes. With internet access.
I had actually heard of Chivalry 2 because of you guys, but it does seem like that game kind of entered the video game pop culture zeitgeist here recently. It seemed like I knew y'all were playing it, but it seemed like it had kind of gained some steam or popularity just in the gaming community. That a lot of people were playing it.
Yeah, it's definitely got a following. Definitely worth a pickup, in my opinion. Is there anything else on our list we need to go to before our spoiler session?
I have one minor thing that I was going to talk about.
Absolutely.
And it combines two of one of my favorite things and one thing that nobody likes. The first thing is movies, and the second thing is reading, because nobody likes reading books. No, I'm just kidding. I love reading.
Me too.
But anyway, Quentin Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I don't know if either of you have seen the film. Have either of you seen the film?
I have seen the film.
So this
I
is
saw it in
Quentin
theaters because me and Jenny are both big fans of Tarantino. So
perfect. So you might be interested in this. I also saw it in theaters. I loved it. I'm a big fan of that film. For me personally, it probably ranks among Tarantino's better movies, in my opinion. But Tarantino himself wrote a novelization of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood that just came out at the end of June. And so this is the first novelization of any of his movies that Tarantino has done. This book is written by himself. I have it right here. This is my copy of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It is literally, about the size of my hand. It's a small little book. I'm listening to some interviews with Tarantino here recently, which, by the way, Quentin, if you're listening to this, feel free to message us, hit me up on Twitter. I'm happy to sit down and talk to you about your book. So anyway, he's just a fascinating guy to listen to talk to about movies and such, but he said that when he was growing up as a kid, in the 70s, you went into a drugstore and near the counter on a rack, you would either have some comic books or you'd have film novelization. So that's what was at the front, cheap paperback, small books of whatever movie is playing in theaters. A lot of time, those movies were actually those novels were actually written by the screenwriter of the movies, or, that was a common thing back then. So he took it upon himself that he wanted to write this novelization himself, he said during the pandemic, he actually kept all of his film novelizations that he had collected from, his youth, and he was rereading some of them.
Excellent.
So for inspiration, he did write it. He decided to go with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood because it was his most recent movie. There were things that were fresh in his mind that he didn't get to put in the movie, or things that he wanted to change. He said he originally sat down and was going to write Reservoir Dogs as a book, but then he changed paths. So we'll probably get a Reservoir Dogs book down the line from Tarantino, I would expect. But yeah, so Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, this book is $9.99. It's like a 400-page paperback. I'm about a quarter of the way through it right now. It's pretty fun to read, and if you saw that movie, there are some things that are left a little bit ambiguous, and the book gives you some more clarification on that. Like, for example, Brad Pitt's character Cliff Booth in the movie, it is left up to your imagination as to whether or not he got away with the murder of his ex-wife or not. The book maybe gives a little bit more clarification on that topic. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, I would say pick up a book. Can't go wrong for $10. Book by Tarantino himself.
Yeah, $10.
If you like
it's
movies,
it's worth it just for the picture of Margot Robbie on the cover.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, if you like movies, you probably like Quentin Tarantino, and if you like Quentin Tarantino, you would like this book.
Yeah, I actually have 2 Kill Bill framed posters I stole from my older brother in my room. And then my younger brother has the cover of Pulp Fiction tattooed on his arm. So me and both my brothers love Tarantino's movies, and I guess him potentially as a person. I actually saw, I think it was on TikTok, I saw a video, someone met him, and they thought it would be funny to be like, hey, will you sign my feet? And then he thought it was funny too. And so he signed their feet. Which I thought was hilarious. He seemed like a good sport. He seems like a nice guy. I don't know. I would love to meet Quentin Tarantino. But yeah, so speaking of movies, spoiler alert, everybody. We're going to be talking about Black Widow.
Yeah, I'd say this will be the last topic of today's show. We'll probably spend about the next 10 minutes talking about some Black Widow spoilers. So if you haven't seen the movie yet, feel free to pause, go see the movie, come back, play, and listen to the rest of us, or just listen to the audio podcast when that's up, and hopefully you can catch some of our spoiler thoughts on it. Now,
you want to listen to the spoilers first and then watch the movie?
Then keep listening.
You're more than welcome to do that. Just don't tweet at us and complain about spoiling it if you actively, took it upon yourself to listen to the spoilers.
What if you don't particularly care one way or the other, and you're going to hear the spoilers anyways?
Then you might be a Gary.
Okay, all right. I like this.
But yeah, so I love... I actually really like the movie. I like the movie.
We gave everybody enough time to leave. That's all I was trying to do.
Absolutely, yeah. Everyone had enough time. But yeah, last episode we talked about, we both more or less liked the movie. I liked it a lot. And we both agreed that if it had come out when it belongs in the timeline, it would have been really good. And we got to find out more about her backstory. It's about time, they've really been doing her dirty by not giving her spotlight like she deserves. Let's focus on the female characters. Let's give them real stories. They're not just, plot devices.
I think going into the movie, I knew just as a fan who, kind of follows along. Obviously, Black Widow died in Avengers Endgame.
Yeah.
This movie kind of goes back in time, but I'm sitting there thinking, okay, Florence Pugh playing, I believe it's Yelena or Yelena. I can't remember the pronunciation of
Yolanda, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's spelled Yelena, so Yelena or Yelena. Florence Pugh plays her sister in it, and in my mind, I'm thinking this is gonna somehow pass the torch from Scarlett Johansson to Florence Pugh, and Florence Pugh's basically kind of gonna be the new Black Widow moving forward in the MCU.
Me too. That's what I thought too.
Yeah, and I think that it kind of does that. I think we know for sure that Florence Pugh, there's going to be an upcoming Hawkeye series that will be on Disney Plus. I know that Florence Pugh is confirmed to be in it in some capacity.
Makes a lot of sense.
The end stinger for Black Widow does shed some light. So anyway. I guess we'll talk about the end stinger first because I think it's the biggest spoiler thing. So anyway, for those who saw the movie, what you know is the end credits tease is Florence Pugh's character looking at the grave of Natasha Romanoff, and I guess paying tribute to her fallen sister, and then. Standing beside her is Julia Louis-Dreyfus, who appeared in the Falcon and the Winter Soldier series. Her character, Valentina, who has been sending Yelena on missions of some sort. And the next mission is her to kill the murderer of her sister, the Black Widow, and shows her a picture of Hawkeye, Clint Barton himself. So implying that... Pugh's character will be hunting down Hawkeye and trying to kill him, which does set up perfectly for the Disney Plus show. We know that Julia, it was. I was not expecting any kind of big reveal like that, so it was pretty exciting. We saw her character in Falcon and the Winter Soldier as she was kind of recruiting the U.S. agent to be kind of one of her guys that she's sending out on missions, and it looks like she's got her hands on Florence Pugh's character now. We can only assume that she's going to turn to the good side and not kill Hawkeye, but it's going to be interesting to see how that goes.
Definitely interesting to see. It's going to be cool. She's obviously going to be working with Agent America as well, the Captain America from Winter Soldier that preceded the Falcon, and because he's also working with Julia Louis-Dreyfus's character, who I believe is actually...
Her character's name is... Oh, go ahead.
I believe
Sorry.
she's actually supposed to be Miss Hydra or Lady Hydra, and so
Madam
Hydra.
Hydra.
There
That's
you
what
go.
I thought too. I think they refer to her as Valentina right now, and she's got a long name. And I know that is a character in the comics, but I do think it might be a Madam Hydra reveal in the future. I think everybody's still kind of questioning what that's going to be.
Yeah.
One thing I did research this because I was interested to see that this stinger was the planned end credit stinger for this movie. Obviously this movie was supposed to come out in May of 2020, so over a year ago. And this movie originally in the release schedule would have come out before The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So
Yes.
this was technically supposed to be Valentina's first reveal in this stinger.
That is
and
interesting.
then later you'd be introduced to her in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Instead, because of the release schedule shakeup, saw her first in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and then now in the Stinger. I think that actually worked to Marvel's advantage, almost like a happy accident, because I thought it was cool having already seen her character set up in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and seeing her back here felt like it had a little bit more weight to it.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's cool. It seems almost like they're setting up for because a lot of people are speculating that Secret War is going to happen. What with the Skrulls reveal in Spider-Man, where Nick Fury was being impersonated, all that kind of stuff. It seems like they're setting up for some sort of secret Skrull invasion war with Hydra apparently still infiltrating the United States government, because they cleared him out of S.H.I.E.L.D., but Julia Louis-Dreyfus's character it works for the government, works for the United States government, I believe. And so it seems like they are still embedded. It's hard. Once you cut off one head, two grow back. So it's impossible to get. They are just evil. You can't get rid of evil, And it seems like they're setting up for secret wars. And
it was definitely a fun thing to end on, because it does seem like, I think that was one of the biggest question marks for me going into the movie, is what weight will this movie have on the MCU as a whole? Because if this is just kind of a flashback origin story for Black Widow, then how can we really see that have a greater effect later? I think that end stinger really did give us something, but otherwise the movie itself really was just kind of a standalone thing. It starts off right after Civil War has ended. It ends with Black Widow. We see her with her short blonde hair, basically going to get on the jet to go meet up with Captain America and break folks out of the raft and go start the process of Avengers Infinity War. So it's like it starts where Civil War ends, and it ends right where Infinity War is going to get picked up. So it's like, I think that's the only complaint that I'd have about the movie is, the showdown with the big villain, which the big villain of the movie isn't even really Taskmaster. Like, Taskmaster is kind of the muscle throughout that kind of gets in her way, that she has to fight a few times, but really that's just the muscle for like kind of the man behind the curtain.
Taskmaster was cool. Because in the first fight, through the shield, all that good stuff, very Captain-esque, which is cool because they do that with a lot of the super soldiers. The shields are a big deal. It's like a symbol thing for super soldiers these days in the MCU. But then I was waiting. I was wondering if he was going to pull out the sword. The sword was pulled out, and I was like, yeah, fuck yeah, that was fucking cool. That was an exciting moment for me. It's funny because Taskmaster, maybe not the most prevalent character ever, but in the board games of the Marvel board games, he's actually getting a lot of play lately, and I thought it was funny that they finally brought him into the MCU, because he's in Disney Marvel Villainous. He's one of the playable characters, and he's also in the new one I just got, Marvel, I forget.
He's always been trickling around in video games, like in Marvel Ultimate Alliance. He was trickling around. He was in some of the old Spider-Man games, and even in the most recent PlayStation Spider-Man game, Taskmaster side quests were a big part of the game, and he was very, very awesome in it. He was well directed and he was very cool, but his challenges were just a huge pain in the ass. That being said, you're right. It's good to see him get some screen time because Taskmaster, he's been around, man. He's done his time. Let him get some
I
screen
was
time.
worried that they were going to do away with him. Just going to be a one and done. But at the end, they do leave it open for a return. So, like, that's really cool. I was worried that they were just going to throw that character in the trash. I was like, that's a lot of build-up to just throw a character in the trash.
I guess that's the only other...
I was going to say, I can't wait until we get Doctor Doom in the Marvel Universe. He's one of my favorite villains, but we can't get into that. I'm looking at the time like that's going to have to wait.
Yeah. So I've been thinking actually that the whole Multiverse of Madness thing might give them a way to just straight up bring Black Widow back. Because I didn't think about it before. They could bring any character they wanted back to life just from a parallel dimension. And I feel like Black Widow, it'd be okay to do.
It sounds like from with the next Spider-Man movie and then Multiverse of Madness, multiverse is in the title. They're doing a lot of dimension hopping. So it sounds like really those couple of movies coming up will give them a chance to con anything in the MCU that they want to. Anything they want to change or alter.
But anybody who's been watching Loki, they're obviously alluding to some Multiverse of Madness type of stuff going on. So we're definitely the ball's in motion all around the Marvel MCU for this.
Yeah, I can't wait to talk about Loki on episode 3. That's going to be very fun. Probably the spoiler talk will be episode 4, though.
Yeah, that's right. So join us on Saturday the 24th, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I'd say if you manage to stick around this long and through our spoiler discussion, in 2 weeks we'll stream again. Probably look to hear us talk about Loki spoilers since the series will be done. By that time, I'll have seen the Space Jam movie. Probably expect to hear from me about the new Space Jam, maybe about the new M. Night Shyamalan movie will be out by then as well, called Old. And maybe even Snake Eyes, the new G.I. Joe movie, if I decide to go see that. Those will probably be on my list.
I was really excited for that movie when they said they were doing it after G.I. Joe came out. But holy crap, it's been years.
We'll probably all, don't let me speak for the other guys, but next Saturday, we'll probably all go to an indie wrestling event, DZW, Domination Zone Wrestling. And that'll be something.
That is next weekend, huh?
That'll be something we report back about and talk about how we had a great time.
Oh, boy. That's going to be exciting.
We'll get to talk to you, everybody, about it. If you're a local person, you live in Houston, Katie, it's going to be out in Brookshire. DZW Wrestling, just look it up. You could probably find the location. But we went once, a lot of fun. We're going to go again, and can't wait. But yeah, so did you guys have any closing remarks?
Mm-mm.
This has been fun. I look forward to doing more episodes with y'all here in the near future.
Absolutely. So this is Fresh Out the Podcast. We're going to be streaming live we're going to do 2 episodes every other week on, we're trying to do Saturdays, and we're going to be releasing the audio split up into 2 episodes every single week. That's probably going to be coming to Spotify, I would imagine. We're going to work on that.
That's what I'm going to try for.
And we're going to get that, guys, to you. You guys can find the links and all that later down the line. Thank you so much for watching. Tune in to Fresh Out the Podcast for all your nerd culture news, toys, games, movies, comics, anything and everything that is nerd and fandom and cinema. We will be talking about with each other here on Fresh Out the Podcast. And then check out me and Gary on our regular Fresh Out the Box TTRPG games talks Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So now we're streaming 4 times a week, and we love every minute of it. So thank you so much for supporting us. Thank you for being here, and we will see you guys next time.